Well, as everyone can see, I'm here with AP's 12-year-old brother.
Yeah. AP was out and he brutally died in an accident, so I'm taking over from here, um, and we'll just continue whatever he was doing.
Yeah, don't be sad. It's an upgrade, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. Anything's an upgrade from AP.
That's true.
You even notice, little AP was less late
Yeah.
than
Lil
grown AP.
AP. Yeah.
Hey, so wanted to talk about. Hang on. This is a professional stream.
Yeah. Totes.
um, wanted to talk about Mohammed Hijab's responses to the toughest atheist questions about the Quran, which I was watching. I was like, huh, they left out a lot of questions that atheists would typically ask. And then Hijab didn't even respond to some of what they were saying. But what else do you expect from Towards Eternity? Anywho, we should probably talk for a couple of minutes about the situation in the UK.
Who cares about the UK, man?
No, well, no one, but people are going to start getting banned over it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You think
Yeah,
so?
yeah, possibly me, probably you. You do have a slight advantage in that you are Turkish. You have a slight advantage in that you are Turkish and you have a foreign name. If your name was Bob Smith, you'd have been banned years ago. Years ago, I say. Um, Candace is saying Ataturk was a Jew. Is that true? Sounds like something
No.
she would say. Hmm?
No. That'd be funny. That would be funny if she said that. Um, yeah, I do have an advantage over that because I'm a person of color.
Mhm.
Uh, what color is your Bugatti? That's what my advantage. I don't know, man. There are riots currently going on. Lots of people are talking about them. Some people are saying, "Huh, that's what you get." And by the way, I support the riots. Others are saying this is unacceptable. Shouldn't be happening. Some are saying, "Well, I don't like what's happening, but we've been warning you for decades, innit?" Others are saying this is all racist. So I don't know. Where do you stand?
Um, it's kind of a sucky situation, but I mean,
Sucky.
very easy to predict. Very easy to predict. Normally, if a population is worried about something, they're concerned about something, you contact the police to deal with it. You contact the government. You can alert the media and so on. What happens when you have a problem with something and you're getting really worried and you call the police and you call politicians, you contact journalists, and you find out they're all against you. Um, in fact, it's eerily reminiscent of Anders Breivik, who's in a different category. I mean, he was a mass murderer and a terrorist. But what Breivik said was, and he said he realized this back in the 90s. He said he concluded that since politicians and journalists are just going to call you a racist if you say you have a problem with anything, therefore, he concluded, the only way to get your message across is through violent shock attacks. So he's talking, and he said he learned that from Al Qaeda. He said so, people will post the news about what Al Qaeda says, and it's because they're doing these deadly attacks. So he decided to launch a deadly attack. But it's a similar situation in that people are saying, wait, we go to our politicians, they do nothing, they're against us. We go to police, they do nothing, they're against us. We go to journalists, they do nothing, they're against us. Therefore, it's up to us, and we have to deal with this on our own. And that's gonna lead to some people taking things into their own hands and doing it responsibly, and some people taking things into their own hands and getting violent and burning things and rioting and so on. So I think that's what we're going to be dealing with here in the near future. People are fed up with the government. They are convinced that the government, journalists, everyone, police are against them. and it's not like they're just imagining this. They have very good reasons for thinking that, and they're not sure what to do. They've decided we are not going to sit back and do nothing, and so
Yeah, the
that's what
thing
it
is,
is.
I would say that nobody should be engaging in riots. It's probably totally the wrong step, the wrong way to go, and it will play right into the hands of people, of authorities, and of people who want to, vilify those who have been concerned for a long time. The thing is, we have been saying forever. I mean, just recently, actually, as tensions were rising, we said that things are going to get worse because people are not listening to the concerns that people have. But when it comes to so riots here in this case are just a way of of people expressing their deepest concerns because they become hopeless and they see that the authorities are no longer listening to them. So they take matters into their own hands. But rioting plays into the hands of those who could use this against you, and this could backfire very, very badly.
Oh well, it will,
Yeah,
because what's going to be said is you see how dangerous
yeah,
Islamophobia is. And that's why
yeah.
we have to crack down and lock all these guys up. And it will, by the way, it's going to be the same. Watch what I've said. It's going to be the exact same thing on social media. Elon might take a stand. I don't know, because governments will actually be coming after him. Um, but everyone else, YouTube, Facebook, all these organizations that have been um, bending over backwards to help Islam for years. They're going to get contacted by governments saying, see, people are spreading Islamophobia on your platforms. You need to crack down more. And they will. They always do. In fact, that historically, even though I've never supported violence or called for violence or anything like that, historically, it's after something happens that I would always start getting content banned. In fact, that video that Nabil and I made years ago where we got slapped around at the Dearborn Arab Festival, that video was up for like a year. And it was a couple days after the Anders Breivik attack that I got contacted saying, we're taking that video, we have to take that video down because it's, it's causing problems. And what they actually mean is, after the Anders Breivik attack, Muslims contacted YouTube and said, hey, we're worried about an attack like this in Dearborn because of this video, so you have to take this down. And they did. And so that's happened every time there's anything remotely like that, like the attack in what was it, New Zealand and so on. Anytime there's something like that, all of a sudden stuff starts getting banned because everyone's seizing that opportunity to contact social media and say, you see, it's social media that's producing this. It's social media that's producing this Islamophobia, not all the stuff that Muslims are doing that's causing people to react in this way. It's social media, therefore you have to ban all these accounts. And then the problem is silencing people only makes people feel like there's nothing else they can do even more, right? So, hey, governments won't help us, politicians, journalists, no one will help us. At least we can speak our minds on social media. Oh, we can't even do that anymore. And then people start turning in other directions. And then
It
everyone's
just looks like
shocked, I say. And it's a kind of spiral because people take to the streets and start burning stuff because they feel completely helpless. And so what do? Then you crush them even more. So then they feel even more that the government is on the side of the jihadis and so on, and even more that the government is trying to crush them. And anyway, caught in a rough spiral right now, Europe, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, this is not good at all. And people should have realized this. It's just I don't know. People don't like to think in the long term. They like to think, we have to consider what people are feeling right now, and people are feeling very upset. And if we take this step, and if we offend these people, then this will be, people's feelings will be hurt. And Islamophobia is a very sensitive matter, and it can actually endanger lives and all that. They don't take into consideration the long term impacts on society of not providing safety to the native people of the nation. Yeah, I don't know. It's not going to be not going to be very, very pretty. And it's a shame that it has to come to this. Unfortunately, people are stupid.
Yeah, and how many years have we been saying, guys, it's
I wish someone would have said
you're gonna be
something.
running out of peaceful options here. You have this giant window of time where you can deal with things peacefully. And then you get to where things get so bad because you put it off for so long that everything's ready to explode. And then you
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
"What? Who could have foreseen this?" Gee, I don't know.
Well,
Anyone with
I
a
wish
shred of
somebody
common
would have
sense?
said something about it. Like nobody ever said anything.
Yeah, I
So
know.
this is what we.
Yeah, if only we've been saying stuff for the past 20 years, warning everyone.
Yeah,
I asked Robert the other day when we were alive, and I said, Robert, all the stuff that we were saying, 2005, 2006, 2007, all the predictions we made, have have any of them turned out to be wrong? Can you think of none? None. We told people exactly what was going to happen. It's exactly what's happening. And somehow we were wrong then, and we're wrong now. It's such a weird situation.
you are wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be talking. I'm sure we'll be talking about this stuff. We should set something up where we go through some video clips and stuff of what's going on.
But this shows that right now, especially, it's very important that we stay as sensitive toward people's feelings as possible and don't engage in Islamophobic content because this is bad. That's the problem.
Right, and that's why we want to actually show how not Islamophobic we are
Yeah,
by actually playing Mohammed Hijab videos and
yeah,
showing the world his responses to criticisms of the Quran. Isn't that like what else could we do? Right?
based.
How un-Islamophobic can we possibly be that we actually help the dawah by showing the most powerful atheist objections to the Quran, and we show the premier Muslim apologist of the entire world and possibly of history, Muhammad Hijab,
Based.
responding to those objections.
Based.
I dare say that is as un-Islamophobic as two people can possibly be. I'm talking to you, YouTube censors, who are looking for people to ban right now. We are as un-Islamic, we are as anti-Islamophobic as someone can possibly be. We're helping the dawah during this episode.
Yes, it's not enough to not be Islamophobic. You have to be anti-Islamophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silence is violence.
Yeah.
So we can't remain silent. We have to help the dawah. Let's take a couple
Yeah.
super chats and then we'll jump into this video where AP, you're no longer in the full donkey brain atheist category. But try to you haven't watched this video we're about to go through, have
No.
you? Okay.
No.
Try to think of way back, way back when you were an atheist. Try to think of
When I was stupid.
the main verses that you would have raised objections to as an atheist.
Yeah.
Because I think they got two. I think they got two of them. I think they got two of them right. That would like one would definitely be probably top 3 or 4, and then one would be definitely top 10. But they're definitely leaving some out that you would think. Anyways, take a couple super chats and we'll jump into the video. This is AP's little brother, PP. AP's beardless little brother, PP.
That's a good name.
Leather straps with a vertical smile says the riots in the UK are a symptom of deep rage. Yeah. And keep in mind, I mean,
That's what they do.
yeah, this isn't some weird thing. Historically, uprisings and so on against governments and so on, those are fairly common. We just got to a stage of civilization where we think, hey, now we've got governments that are set up in ways that we can bring our grievances to the government and the government can deal with those things. And we've got a good system. And if there's injustice somewhere, someone's not doing something right, then the media is going to go in there and they're going to expose it. They're going to bring it into the light. And that's how things are going to work. And you end up with a system that works pretty well until the government stops doing what it's supposed to do and journalists stop doing what they're supposed to do and so on. And then the whole thing breaks down and you go right back to uprisings. So get used to it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Prayers for my mom, please. She's back in the hospital for an issue. I don't have the details yet regarding her surgery site on her leg where they removed lymph nodes and that had cancer. Yeah, the more I hear about this cancer, the more I don't like it.
I still think it's a cool thing, but I wish her all the best.
Yeah. Mohammed Hijab was shocked by the hadiths demanding men to be breastfed if they want to work with non-relative females. I think there's more hadiths demanding this than there are saying apostate execution. There are quite a few. There are quite a few hadiths talking about the breastfeeding adults, and we all remember Mohammed Hijab's famous response to to a Muslim when he said, can I suck your wife's tit?" Guys, don't think I'm just being gross here. That's an actual quote. Wasn't that the quote?
Yeah,
Can I suck your
yeah.
wife's tit?
He was actually having issues with the whole hadith about breastfeeding, and was saying that this is just he was having an issue with rulings derived from that, which traditionalist Islamic scholars have defended, and then these other Muslims were getting into a discussion with him and were defending that this is a traditionally acknowledged, well-known ruling, and he shouldn't be criticizing it and all that. And his response was, "Then okay, can I suck your wife's tit to make her my mahram?" And then
You
he had
gotta
to.
you gotta love Mohammed Hijab, man.
And then people
it
started going like, "What is wrong with you?" So then he had to take a break from Twitter for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. You think you got Muslims who think, oh, they're all trembling before Muhammad Hijab, and it's like this guy's a gold mine. He is an endless gold mine of content against his fake prophet. Awesome times, awesome times. Way more fun with Hijab and Ali Dawa and Daniel Hakikachu than it was back in the day with Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik. These are awesome times all around.
Was,
Awesome times all around. Hmm?
nobody even knows who Zakir Naik is.
Yeah, we've shown it before, but you can still go to his channel, and he has trouble breaking like 2,000 views. Why? Because other people have taken over the Dawa scene, and it is amazing. Why do lay Muslims think that Muhammad's illiteracy means that he cannot copy stories? I often encounter people who think his illiteracy is a good argument.
It's one of those examples where you just don't have to have any grasp of logic at all, and critical thinking skills if you want to defend Islam. Um, when we suggest that the Quran contains stories and narratives that were taken from older beliefs, and that were kind of twisted and faked and whatever, they say, "Oh, how can that be? Everybody knows that the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate. He couldn't read, so
Couldn't
how
read
could
these
he have
stories.
taken
It's
stories? He couldn't have
impossible.
read them.
There's no
No."
way. There's no
Yeah.
way.
And if you can't read, then there is no other way at all to get those stories from anywhere else. Yeah, nobody's saying that he sat down and read these books and thought, "Oh, I'm going to take this story and that one and this one. That sounds pretty good. I want to take that one and put that in my Quran too." That's not what we're saying at all.
Yeah, guys, what do you think life was like in 7th century Arabia? You didn't have TVs, no radios, you didn't have
Really?
the internet, you didn't have laptops. For entertainment, you'd sit around telling stories. That's what you'd do. You'd sit around in the evening telling stories. And then people would come to town and they would tell you the stories from wherever they're from, and you would hear these stories. And people would pass around their stories. The difference was someone would show up from a different place, tell a story, and then Muhammad would come out the next day and say, "I have received a revelation." And then he would tell the same story that guy told and say it's a revelation. And then the people around him would say, "What? Not according to me, not according to AP. According to the Quran," what would they say? "These are just tales of the ancients. We've heard these before." Of course you have. You've heard them from the same place Muhammad heard them from. And so, yeah, it's, anyone who says you can't copy stories unless you're actually reading it, just doesn't know how stories work. Let's see.
Yeah.
Have you watched Tommy Robinson's Silenced on YouTube? Channel name is Wildlife UK Livestream. Download before it gets deleted by you-know-who. You seen it yet, AP?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Me neither. I didn't even know it was on YouTube.
YouTube.
I saw it was actually trending. It was actually trending on Twitter a little while ago that Tommy Robinson is, what is he, at a hotel in Cyprus and so on? Oh, he's vacationing while Europe burns. It's like, wait, where can this guy go with his kids where he's not going to be in danger with his kids in the UK, right? You have to actually leave the country to have any meaningful time with your kids and so on, and then they attack him for it. They've produced a world where a guy has to actually go out of the country to not be attacked, and then they look, he left the country to spend
Yeah,
time with his
I think
kids.
he actually moved out of the UK,
Smart.
uh, and but he's still there all the time. He's still just there engaging in activities and activism and all that. But I think he's officially now in a different country because I mean, what are you supposed to do if you are constantly summoned? Again, the authorities want you because you did this one thing where you talked about grooming gangs, and this is not okay with the court. Therefore, you have to be arrested and questioned and so on. I guess the guy was eventually sick of it and decided to move away.
Yeah, and I've pointed out because I mean, I've had my fair share of encounters with police in the past. It was a completely different. It was a completely different vibe in Dearborn, where police can show up, they can lie about you. And keep in mind, other people have experienced that in different areas. But dealing with this issue where we're not going around committing crimes. We're not doing stuff. We didn't have bad run-ins with the police up there and stuff. It's just Muslims are complaining about us, and police show up and say we did all this stuff that we didn't do. The reason that's so creepy is ordinarily, if I have a problem with someone or someone's doing something or someone's going to attack me or something like that, there's a situation you can call the police and say, hey, there's someone over here who's dangerous or causing a problem. Then police show up and they enforce the law. What do you do if you can't call the police because they'll lie about you and then throw you in jail and there's nothing you can do about it? Now, fortunately, here in the US, you can actually go above them, right? You could go above them. You could take them to court, which is what we did, and we won. But imagine being in the UK where, hey, these guys are doing something. I want to do a peaceful protest. And then police come after you. And then what do you do? Like, what do you do? The government's after you. Police are after you. Everyone's after you. And they're trying to make an example out of you as to anyone who would speak out. What do you do? Does there come a time when you just say, you know what? I'm not safe here. My family's not safe here. We can't call the police because they're on the side of people who want me dead, and they want to just lock me up and hit me with trumped up charges and so on. So I don't know. Rough stuff. Especially
That's what they do.
especially if you really want what's best for your country and you see that happening to it. Gotta suck.
Yeah.
Rest of the world, take warning. Take warning. Although I suspect it's going to be happening everywhere in the West. To your knowledge, has anyone done a comprehensive comparison of Muslim and Christian ethics from their respective sources?
I've always thought about doing something like that, but I haven't.
Yeah, anyone else in the chat might have a response to that. I can't think of anything. I mean, I can think of lots of articles where we've done comparing individual topics and sort of general things, but not something that's comprehensive. Y'all should get an MMA guru on. He's in UK and fed up. Y'all should get MMA guru on. He's in UK and fed up. Who's MMA guru? You know who that is?
Never heard of it.
Hey, speaking
MMA
of MMA gurus, you see your boy Jake Shields complaining about brown people in the UK. Did you see that?
I haven't seen it.
It's been amazing. So you had Andrew Tate, who was the hero of the Dawa guys last year and the year before. Their hero, the savior of Islam. And then he was just listed on Five Pillars UK top 10 list of people who are inciting the far right riots. So they threw him under the bus. And then you've got Jake Shields, and it's the same thing. That was their best buddy and their hero when he's blasting away at Jews. But guess what? Jake also had the problem with anyone who's not white, and now it's, oh no, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. I mean, this is just one of those examples where Muslims seem to be, lots of them seem to be unable to comprehend that they shouldn't just be making alliances with everyone who supports them on one or two things, because it just backfired on you.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Everything. Oh, hey, there's some communists. Oh yeah, you be on our side. Oh, here's some LGBTQ. Yeah, you be on our side. Yeah. We'll all be on the same side. Oh, this guy's a complete racist, but since he's a racist and a white supremacist, he also hates Jews. Yeah, you be on our side. You be on our side. You hate Jews. We hate Jews. And then, everything's breaking down. Alliances are going to be shattered right now, ladies and gentlemen. All the alliances you've seen forming are going to fall to pieces. Are the 72 virgins green birds? Well, they better be, if all the jihadi green birds are going to be banging them. Oh my goodness, I love hijab. I'll be his cake if he gives me his pastry bag. Proud to be an AP fan. What? Oh, it's Gay P. I didn't see who it was. It was Gay P. Nicholas says, can someone explain the name Mohammed Hijab? If that's his real name, that would mean his grandfather actually named his father Hijab, really? Yeah, his real name actually has a different spelling, like Hijab or something like that. He went with Hijab as like a pseudonym type thing. Yeah, he did have a name modification as a pseudonym, something like that.
Yeah, it's his name is Mohammed Nabil Hijab, and yeah, that's it.
Let's see. Couple more and then we'll jump into this video. Hi, David. I sent an email to your address from Answering Islam. Did you see it? God bless you guys and your families. I am not sure. Was it Pants Schmance? Does it say Pants Schmance on there? Because I can check. I'll look around for it. I can do a search for Schmance. Fedor says, Dawa Wood and Apis, you two anger me so much. My leather straps break and make my undies take the skid mark of the beast. Repent and recite the Shadubi now. The Shadubi. Thank you both for your awesome work.
This is funny. I just actually decided to look something up here and see. So the hijab last name with the spelling hijab, often Latinized, is a very common name in Egypt, and it is related to the hijab curtain thing, and it is historically it may have been used or is used by families that may have been involved in textile or garment industry. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's some really important information to know in case I'm ever on Jeopardy and that comes up. Hey, here's a good one. What's the most garbage argument in the Quran? A, 223. So that's 223 is produce a chapter like it, produce a surah like it. 482, that's if it had been from other than Allah, they would certainly have found much discrepancy or much contradiction. How can God have a son without a wife? Or how can children of God, how can they call themselves children of God if God punishes them? I can think of a few more that are actually really terrible, but yeah, these would be some really, really, really bad ones. I don't even know. I mean, they're all so bad.
This is a good reminder. Perfect topic for a video. The worst arguments in the Quran.
I'm screenshotting this. What are the worst arguments in the Quran?
We could do a collaboration on that.
Yeah. And yeah, we could go back and forth. And keep in mind, some of these actually get very interesting because take something like how can Allah have a son if he has no wife, right? That's something that is, one, it's stupid. It shows he doesn't even understand what they're responding to because the argument is not that God produced some biological son or something like that. So one, it shows that the author of the Quran is ignorant as to what he's even responding to. But then you also have the passage about Mary, when Mary asked the exact same thing, when the Spirit tells her, hey, you're going to have a son. And she says, how can I have a son when no man has touched me? And the response is, well, it's easy for Allah. I said, wait a minute. Whoa. So when someone talks about Allah having a son, no, it's impossible because you need husband and wife to produce a son. Oh, okay. So that's the rule. And then Mary raises the exact same objection. Wait a minute. I would have needed to have done something with a man for this to happen. No. It's actually easy for Allah. So in other words, there are layers to some of the problems with these arguments.
One of my favorites also is one of the worst arguments is something similar, which is why are the Christians and Jews fighting about Abraham when Abraham was neither a Jew nor a Christian, but a Muslim? It's just so dumb.
Yeah, that's like, I
Such a
mean,
ridiculous.
imagine two later sects of Islam arguing about something, and then someone's like, oh, but Muhammad wasn't one of your group E, so how could you be arguing about him? Right, you'd be arguing. Oh my goodness, they're really bad. Hey, you could have two versions of this. One, you could have the worst arguments in the Quran, but then you could have the worst arguments for Muhammad in the Hadith as well, because that's where you start getting like, look at the mole, he had this giant mole. Surely he must be a prophet with his giant mole. Trust me, breastfeeding scars a kid for life. Do you know how embarrassing it is to be in high school and have your mom come to feed you lunch? Okay, we laugh about that. That's what the passage is basically about. I mean, it's not your mom doing it, but you have to be a grown man with a beard, unlike AP, and breastfeeding from some woman just so, you'll feel like her son. The
Yeah.
more I hear about this Mike Winger, the more I don't like him. Sounds like a real jerk. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you. I wouldn't say something mean like that, but it's true. Momo, I can't read. Aisha, I can't breed. Yeah, that's about right. All right, we got more super chats, but let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of this video. Just want you to know, AP, that these are responses to, I forget what they say, the most common or something like that. Guys, little side note. Hey, those of you in the chat, especially you atheists, if you are going to raise objections to Quran verses, go ahead and put them down now. We'll watch. It's okay. We can watch the beginning before they actually get into any of them. If you, especially atheists, if you were to raise objections to the Quran and say, I have a problem with this verse, what would those verses be? What would be the verses that most concern you? And we'll go ahead and take a look at those. But let's check out the beginning of the video. Guys, write down those verses, and we'll see if they deal with these.
Riding down.
Here we go.
Brother Mohammed Hijab, welcome to Towards Eternity cross-examination concept. Today we're going to ask you the verses, ayahs of the Quran that the atheists object to the most.
That's why I asked the question. It's the verses that atheists object to the most.
I'm really curious now.
The verses that atheists object to the most.
We are Muslims, but we're asking them to show that Islam has answers for every question.
It's good that they start off this time by saying, we're Muslims, just because they act like they're interrogating people and stuff, and it's clear they throw all these softballs. We want to show that Islam has answers for every question.
You have 60 seconds for each answer.
What's that?
I find it so funny that Mohammed Hijab always looks like he wants to start a fight, like even when he's talking to Muslims.
Yeah, I know. At least he's not doing this thing like he does in his videos. If he's making a video against someone who criticizes Islam, he leans back like this to give the impression that he's looking down upon them. He leans back like this. Hey, so I'm going to respond. You see, you don't know how strong I am. You don't know.
Hey, you sick boy.
Oh, sick. Hang on. Let me see what people have responded. So I asked what verses people would have a problem with. Someone said 424. That's a good one. So 424, you need the historical background, but 424 is where the Quran says that married women are forbidden unless they're the possessions of your right hand, meaning if you capture a married woman, you can still take her as your sex slave, even if her husband's still alive. And if you read the historical background, pretty disturbing situation. And here we have Surah 9, verse 29, and Surah 65, verse 4. Those would be, whether a Christian, or if I were a Christian or an atheist, those would be probably my two go-to verses. 65:4 and 9:29. If I were to toss in a third, it would be 434 about wife beating, and 434 is the only one that's been listed so far. Multiple people are putting 65:4, but yeah, 434 is the only one that people are mentioning that actually comes up. Other than that, they're talking about what about the Quran saying that you cannot charge interest? It's like, wait, that's where you're going to? Interest?
So we're not going to watch the video then? We're just talking about the video?
Yeah, we are. I was just telling people. But here we go. Ready?
If you're ready, let's begin.
In verse 5 of Surah...
Little side note, look what they say. I don't know why they make this 60-second rule. No one well, I don't know if no one follows it. Hijab doesn't. Watch this. Hang on.
This is for every question. You have 60 seconds for each answer.
60 seconds, and then you'll hear like a thing ticking, but then he'll go and talk for like 5 or 6 minutes in response to a question. So I don't know why they do it. Guys, towards eternity, just stop laying down that 60 seconds rule or enforce it. But don't say it's a rule and then let everyone walk all over it.
If you're ready, let's begin.
In verse 5 of Surah Al-Tawbah, it is said, kill the polytheists wherever you find them. Why was this ayah revealed? What does it mean?
Actually, the verse starts off by saying, فَإِذَا انْسَلَخَ الْأَشْهُرُ الْحُرُمُ, when the sacred months have expired, فَقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُم. In that situation, then fight the polytheists wherever you find them. So it shows you there's a context. So what is the context? The context is that there was a peace agreement between Muslims and these particular polytheists, the pagans of the pagan Arabs, and that peace...
He's saying this is just particular people. It's not a general command for dealing with the polytheists. It's just a particular group. It's good to know. Good to know, Hijab. Good to know.
See, Muslim apologists, Muslim preachers, this is just one of those examples where you prove again that you're not honest people. You're not honest people. And I'm not even speaking...
We're about to prove he's not honest. We're going to prove it. Just spoiler alert. There's going to be proof that he's not honest.
I'm not even talking about the response that he's giving. I'm talking about the objections that are raised. Allegedly, the Quran verses that are chosen as things that people complain about. Like, this is not something that I have ever brought up, I think. Quran chapter 9 verse 5, although I can understand why people would raise that question. I would, for example, instead go for chapter 9 verse 29, which I think is significantly more indefensible.
Correct.
But so if you want to make a video and say, the questions, the Quran verses that atheists most object to, that they have questions about, maybe try to represent it accurately instead of making it easy for yourselves by pretty much lying, by setting it up in such a way that you decide what you want to respond to. Be more honest.
Yeah, my view, because before we started, I said that one of the verses they bring up would be like top 5, and that's 434. That's what they're going to deal with next. That's the wife beating. 9:5, I said you could consider it top 10. Would have been much more common many years ago, but there is a context that you have to argue with. It is in the interpretations of the commentators, it is as bad as it sounds. It's as bad as it sounds, but you have to actually go through it and go through commentaries, because it is significantly confusing, as you're about to see from his explanation. And so I'm like you, 929 is clearer, and it's easier to go through the historical context. You can just read one passage from Ibn Kathir. It explains the historical background and stuff. So yeah, much easier. But anyway, they give 2 verses that might fairly commonly be brought up by atheists, and the rest just aren't. But no, they didn't have to say these are the ones that atheists come with most frequently. You didn't have to say that. You could have just said these are verses that atheists have raised concerns about, and then you're fine, because any of the verses you're bringing up are things that people have complained about at some time. Don't know why there always has to be this level of exaggeration.
Listen to what atheists actually say and then respond to it.
We will.
Treaty was severed from the side of those people on the other side, and as a result of the severance of this peace treaty, this was a command that was put forward. Then fight them now, because now they have broken the political peace treaty that was in place. And even if you look at the verse right next to it, okay, which is verse 6, it says, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنَهُ. That if one of the disbelievers comes and seeks safety from you, then give safety to him until he hears the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So which shows you the following. It shows you that even in a situation of war, there are ethics of war that Islam puts forward, that if someone seeks safety, Islam says go ahead and give them safety. And of course, we all know that the Prophet told us you cannot kill women or children or livestock or cut trees and so on and so forth. So this is a war context. And in the war context, even then you have ethics of war. So this is taken out of context, frankly. It's a war verse. And in this war verse, it's talking about how to deal with the disbeliever.
Okay.
War context.
War context.
It's a war context, AP.
Well,
Surprised
fair enough.
you don't know that. Here, let's go ahead and read the passage so people can understand why the passage is confusing enough to where this probably wouldn't be our go-to passage if we were talking about if we are raising objections to the Quran. But here, so this is we'll start in verse 1, Surah 9. This is a declaration of immunity by Allah and His apostle towards those of the idolaters with whom you made an agreement. So, you're now immune from the idolaters with whom you made an agreement. So go about in the land for 4 months and know that you cannot weaken Allah and that Allah will bring disgrace to the unbelievers. Okay? And an announcement from Allah and His apostle to the people on the day of the greater pilgrimage that Allah and His apostle are free from liability to the idolaters. Keep in mind these general claims. It's just idolaters. It doesn't say these specific idolaters, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, if you repent, it will be better for you. And if you turn back, then know that you will not weaken Allah and announce painful punishment to those who, what? Disbelieve.
Oh.
Except those of the idolaters with whom you made an agreement, then they have not failed you in anything and have not backed up anyone against you. So fulfill their agreement to the end of their term. Surely Allah loves those who are careful of their duty. So this is where Hijab thinks, well, at least he says he thinks. I don't know what he really thinks because he's a compulsive liar. But this is where he gets it. So if you have an agreement and they haven't failed in their agreement, then fulfill the agreement till the end of the term. In other words, if you had some sort of treaty with someone, then you can fulfill it to the end of the term. Surely Allah loves those who are careful. And we have, so when the sacred months have passed away, then slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captives, and besiege them, and lie in wait for them in every ambush. Then, if they repent and keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, leave their way free to them. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
Interesting spot. So when are you supposed to leave them alone and leave them be and let them live?
If they repent and keep up prayer and pay the poor rate. In other words, they convert to Islam.
Oh.
They're going to keep up prayer and pay the poor rate.
That's a very interesting context. I think that's a very important context that we should take into consideration.
By the way, side note, this was part of Abu Bakr's justification for the apostate wars. Keep in mind, in the apostate wars, there were people who simply renounced Islam. In other words, they were only pretending to be Muslims because they were scared of Muhammad. And then Muhammad died, and they said, we don't have to keep up this charade anymore. There were other Muslims who believed in Islam, but they said, we don't have to pay zakat to you, Abu Bakr. We can just pay zakat how we want. Look at what happens. If they repent and keep up prayer and pay the poor rate. Abu Bakr said, based on 9:5, I can fight you. Keep in mind, these are not Muslims these are not idolaters at this point. Yeah. These are people who just weren't doing everything that's required to stop fighting them right now. You haven't really repented if you are not praying or paying the zakat as you are commanded by your caliph. And so keep in mind, this can't, if Hijab is correct and this is just about one particular group of idolaters, then how would anyone apply this to anything afterwards, ladies and gentlemen, right? And then you have the other part that Hijab was pointing out, 9:6, and if one of the idolaters seek protection from you, grant him protection till he hears the word of Allah, then make him attain his place of safety. This is because they are people who do not know. Now, why would you need to escort someone through a Muslim land to make sure he's safe? Because the verse before it says kill the idolaters, right? So if you have some sort of messenger or you have someone who's requesting, hey, I want to find out what this Islam is, you actually have to escort him and protect him because other guys have the command to kill idolaters.
This is such a funny, typical Islamic way of defending Islam, of defending, atrocities, where they say, there's clearly an implication of violence. There are clearly violent instructions of, fighting the disbelievers and oppressing them and all that. But hey, I want to point out, just for context, that it does say for those who don't really know yet, who weren't really properly confronted with the idea of becoming Muslims and who are interested, it doesn't tell us to kill them immediately.
Yeah.
They still have the chance to consider it, and then we can kill them.
Yeah, and that's actually
Okay,
going to
great.
come out of the commentary.
Good to know. Good to know. Thanks.
Yes. So we heard Muhammad Hijab's interpretation of the passage. This is Ibn Kathir's. Tafsir of Ibn Kathir. So you have, he gives the first two verses here. Freedom from all obligations is declared from Allah and His Messenger, peace be upon him, to those of the mushrikun, idolaters, with whom you made a treaty. So travel freely, O mushrikun, for 4 months, as you will, throughout the land, but know that you cannot escape from the punishment of Allah, and Allah will disgrace the disbelievers. And here we have a discussion of why there's no Bismillah, the beginning of this verse, not really relevant for what we're discussing here. All right, so go to the next part here. Publicizing the disavowal of the idolaters. Allah said, freedom from obligations from Allah and His Messenger is a declaration of freedom from all obligations from Allah and His Messenger to those of the mushrikun with whom you made a treaty. So travel freely, mushrikun, for 4 months as you will throughout the land. This ayah refers to idolaters who had, this isn't what Hijab said. This ayah refers to idolaters who had indefinite treaties and those whose treaties with Muslims ended in less than 4 months. The terms of these treaties were restricted to 4 months only. As for those whose term of peace ended at a specific date later than the 4 months, then their treaties would end when the terms ended, no matter how long afterwards, for Allah said, so fulfill their treaty for them until the end of their term. So look at the difference between an actual Quran commentator and Mohammed Hijab, who's just a Dawah guy. Right? He's breaking it down. They're paying attention. Fulfill their treaty till the end of their term. So Ibn Kathir points out, if it says the end of the term, that means it has a definite limit to the term. And that means that the dismissal of obligations for the treaties was for indefinite treaties. In other words, you say, hey, we have a treaty until one of us violates it. Nope, that's gone. That's gone. It's only treaties that had an end of their term that were longer than 4 months. So if it's shorter than 4 months, it's going to be up. If it's indefinite, it's canceled. And the only others were some sort of treaty that had a short term. Like, okay, we've made a treaty for 2 years and we haven't violated the treaty. Therefore, keep the treaty with them until the 2 years are up. But indefinite treaties were gone and the short treaties were gone. And if someone hadn't violated a treaty that had some longer term, like 2 years, 3 years, something like that, you would keep that to the end of the term. Notice this is a bunch of different groups you're talking about here. This isn't one specific group who violated a treaty. This is anyone. These are people that haven't violated their indefinite agreements, and you're doing away with it because they're idolaters. That's not according to me. This is according to Ibn Kathir, who apparently doesn't know as much as the great Muhammad Hijab.
The verse is read very clearly, just and openly tell you that those with whom you have treaties, you shouldn't kill them. You should just let them live until their treaties with you are fulfilled. Okay, and then what? Yeah,
we know what. We know what happens then, right? then it's repent, convert, or die. We know that.
Yeah.
So whoever had a covenant with Allah, so I'm in the middle here. So whoever had a covenant with Allah's messenger, then it would last until its period expired. This was reported from Muhammad bin Ka'b al-Qurazi and others. We will also mention a hadith on this matter, blah, 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 blah. And several others said the messenger of Allah sent Abu Bakr to lead the Hajj rituals on the 9th year of Hijrah. He also sent Ali ibn Abi Talib with 30 or 40 ayat from this chapter, At-Tawbah. And he recited them to people, giving the idolaters 4 months during which they freely moved about the land. He recited these ayat on the day, blah, blah, blah. The idolaters were given 20 more days and so on. So it's telling them that they had Muhammad's companions were sent out to announce these things. And then so you have verse 3 down at the bottom. Let's see if there's anything else relevant here. Allah says, this is a declaration from Allah and His Messenger and a preface warning to the people The day of sacrifice, the best and most apparent day of the Hajj rituals during which the largest gather. I'm looking for anything that would support Hijab's theory here. And give tidings of a painful torment for those who disbelieve. I'm not finding anything that this is only for one particular group here and that it doesn't apply to other idolaters.
It's because you're not looking. You're not looking well enough.
I'm literally sitting here trying. Existing peace treaties remained valid until the end of their term. Okay, this is an exception regulating the longest extent of time for those who have a general treaty, with our time mentioned, to 4 months. They would have 4 months to travel the land in search of sanctuary for themselves wherever they wish. Those whose treaty mentioned a specific limited term, then the longest it would extend was to the point of its agreed upon termination date. Hadiths in this regard preceded. So anyone who had a treaty with Allah's messenger, it lasted until its specific termination date. However, those in this category were required to refrain from breaking the terms of the agreement with Muslims and from helping non-Muslims against Muslims. This is the type whose peace agreement with Muslims was carried out to its end. Whereas Hijab interprets this as, no, it's only referring to specific people who had violated their treaties.
Beast.
And then we have 9.5. This is the ayah of the sword. Mujahid, Qatada, blah, 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 said that the 4 months mentioned in this ayah are the 4-month grace period mentioned in the earlier ayah. So travel freely for 4 months throughout the land. Allah said next, so when the sacred months have passed, meaning upon the end of the 4 months during which we prohibited you from fighting the idolaters, and which is the grace period we gave them, then fight and kill the idolaters wherever you may find them. Allah's statement next, then fight the mushrikun wherever you find them, means on the earth in general. Wait a minute. AP, I thought it was just one little place and one little group that broke a treaty on the earth in general. That's even worse. That's even worse than I interpret it.
It's so funny because I mean, just on a plain reading, you wouldn't even understand whatever Mohammed Hijab is saying. And this is a very common way of responding to this objection. When people ask about these verses, the response that Mohammed Hijab gives is quite a common one, but it doesn't even make sense if you actually sit down and read what the verses are saying and think about them and critically analyze them. And the Islamic scholars, the exegetes, they have done it. They have done their work. They conclude that this is a general command to fight the disbelievers, to fight the idolaters wherever they are. So, are we going to listen to Mohammed Hijab, who seems to have no grasp of the text here, even with a basic understanding, or are we supposed to trust the well-known scholars?
And keep in mind, best case scenario, even if for some reason you thought Mohammed Hijab was right, you'd have to say this passage is so confusing that Islam's greatest commentators got it wrong. And so it's just Mohammed Hijab who finally understood it.
But to be fair, the Quran is a terribly stupid book that is easily misunderstood. But
yeah, the actual takeaway is you can just twist the Quran into anything you want. And that's what the Dawah guys do. They twist it up like a pretzel. But check this out. And besiege them and lie in wait for them in each and every ambush. So that's part of Surah 9.5. And here's the commentary. Meaning, do not wait until you find them. Rather, in other words, don't wait until you find them. Rather, seek and besiege them in their areas and forts. Gather intelligence about them in the various roads and fairways so that what is made wide looks ever smaller to them. In other words, you're hunting them down. This way, they will have no choice but to die or embrace Islam. Hey, that's funny. It did sound like it was saying that in verse 9:5. And then here you have, but if they repent and perform the salah and give the zakah, then leave their way free. Verily, Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Abu Bakr, I already mentioned this. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq used this and other honorable ayat as proof for fighting those who refrained from paying the zakah.
I like to simplify things to make them easily digestible. What this is saying is you should fight the idolaters and basically force them to convert to Islam. And then you can let them live.
It does sound like it's saying that, right? Hang on. Let's see. These ayat allowed fighting people unless and until they embrace Islam and implement its rulings and obligations. Keep in mind, so this is, if Muhammad Hijab is saying, no, this is just talking about these idolaters who broke their agreement. Okay, and Abu Bakr, even Abu Bakr is applying this to Muslims who just aren't paying zakat appropriately. Hey, he's like, hey, you're still in that, if you're not paying zakat, then you're still in the 9-5 category and we're coming to kill you. So Hijab not only understands the Quran better than Ibn Kathir, he understands it better than Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest companion and father-in-law. Isn't this wild?
Of course.
This is wild stuff, man. Hey, check this out. And then you have, this is at the bottom of that paragraph right there. In the two Sahihs, so Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, it is recorded that Ibn Umar said that the Messenger of Allah said, I've been commanded to fight the people until they testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah, establish the prayer and pay the zakah.
They probably got this wrong. It's probably a misunderstanding. I agree more with what Mohammed Hijab said. There. Yeah.
This honorable ayah, 9-5. So keep in mind, guys, Ibn Kathir is connecting this command in 9-5 to Muhammad's claim that he's been commanded to fight the people in general, not a particular group of treaty breakers, people. Until when? Until they stop breaking their treaties? No, until they say that Allah is God and Muhammad is his messenger, and they do what they're required to. That's when you stop fighting them. And what do we have here? This honorable ayah, 9-5, was called the ayah of the sword, about which Ad-Dahak bin Muzahim said, it abrogated every agreement of peace between the Prophet and any idolater, every treaty and every term. And so the only exception were if you had a specific length of time in a treaty, if the person hadn't violated it, then you could keep up that treaty until the end. But that was for a limited time. There were no indefinite treaties anymore.
Forced conversion is beast.
And then I guess we'll just glance really quickly. It's kind of irrelevant at this point, but the granting safe passage. Idolaters are granted safe passage if they seek it. Allah said to his prophet, peace be upon him, and if any of the mushrikun, whom you are commanded to fight, and we allowed you their blood and property. So you're talking about people who are idolaters, and you've been commanded to kill them. If any of the mushrikun seeks your protection, what does that mean? Asked you for safe passage, then accept his request until he hears the words of Allah, the Quran. Recite the Quran to him and mention a good part of the religion with which you establish Allah's proof against him, and then escort him to where he can be secure and safe until he goes back to his land, his home, and area of safety. That is because they are men who know not. And so what is this for? This is for people who want to learn about Islam. You escort them to a place you escort them to where they can hear it, to where they can hear about the Quran, and then you escort them back to safety. Why do you need to escort these people? Because you've just been commanded to kill them, and you're in a Muslim land with a bunch of people who've been commanded to kill the idolaters. And so you actually have to go through with them and saying, hey guys, he's with us for now. He's coming to hear the Quran. Yeah, if he comes back again, and it's under different circumstances, then we would kill him, but not right now. Not right now, because he's here to learn about Islam.
Yeah, and then you give them a grace period, and then you go and say, okay, all right. So let's see. You have learned about Islam. You pretty much have no excuse left now. So what do you say? Will you now embrace this peaceful and wonderful and amazing religion brought to you by Allah, or not? And if you then say, I'll stick to my other gods, they're much cooler than yours, then okay, chop, head off.
All right, so that's the one they let out with, as far as verses that atheists bring up most frequently, according to this video.
Beast.
And what did Hijab do? Through Muhammad's own companions, even the first of the rightly guided caliphs, and Islam's greatest commentators, Muhammad's companions, threw them all under the bus to make the verse sound peaceful, so that atheists won't raise the objection. Actually, it's really great. It's just saying, oh, these people broke a treaty, and therefore you have to fight them. Oh, that's nice. And oh, you're escorting people around safety? Oh, well, this is a really, really peaceful and tolerant religion. Yeah. Actually, read what it really says and then read the commentaries on it and tell me how wonderful and peaceful this is.
Well, to be fair, the idolaters probably had lots of belongings and goods, and also good-looking women, wives, or little girls that the Muslims could make use of. So I wouldn't be so critical of them, of the Muslims here.
We won't. Take a couple super chats. Ferocious Pigeon says, will you guys now refer to your Thanksgiving dinner as roast Turkey as out of respect for the great nation of Turkey?
Yes.
I've always referred to it as that.
Yeah. I can vouch for that.
Mm-hmm. Winger is turning me into a wingaling. Help me. Yeah, get professional help, preferably a psychologist with a background in understanding cult tactics and manipulation tactics.
Yeah, you have nobody to blame but yourself.
Mm-hmm. Islam is just a copy of Judaism, a very bad one at that. Islam equals Judaism for the Arab Gentile. You who hate the Jews, why did you adopt their religion? It's a bit more than that. It's kind of a combination of everything that was around Muhammad in 7th century Arabia.
Yeah, I would say it's primarily it is Judaism, but it is also, I would say, even more so an appropriation of Christianity and Christian thinking, but then mixed with all of the polytheistic Arab pagan foundation that was present when Muhammad was. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah, you take it, you mix together everything that was around Muhammad, and you get Islam. And the reason for the issues is the things that were around Muhammad in 7th century Arabia, they didn't mix very well. So you had to kind of mix everything together and then just modify all the stories so that they all kind of lined up.
Yep, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm. How come one of you guys has no man hair on his chin and the other has hair longer than Aisha's? Shaitan never stops trying to deceive the ummah. That's a good point.
Nice. Yeah.
Good point. British patriots claiming a hotel for homeless British citizens. Yeah, I saw they were doing something at a hotel. I wasn't quite sure what it was. It was like a Holiday Inn or something like that.
Yeah, apparently a hotel that has been prominently and frequently used for asylum seekers. I'm not sure what to think about that. It reminds me of something in German history, I think in the 90s, where riots broke out and they burned a place that was an asylum seekers center or shelter. I don't know. It's I understand the outrage and all that, but I don't know. Not sure what to say.
It's a bad situation, right? This is what Islam does. It puts you in a bad situation where you have no good alternative. Every alternative you have is bad, and it turns you into something you didn't want to be. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same situation when after the October 7th attack, you had that Jewish commentator. I saw him in an interview, and then I didn't get his name, so I've never been able to actually find it. But he said basically the situation that we're put in is, imagine a guy pointing a gun at your son. He's got a gun pointed at your son. He says, I'm going to kill your son. And you've got a gun too, so you can shoot him, but he's hiding behind his son. So this guy's about to shoot your son, and you could shoot him, but he's hiding behind his son. He says, that's the situation. You don't want to shoot him. You don't want to shoot his son, but he's forcing you to do something because he's about to shoot your son, and you have to do something. You don't want to shoot his son at all. His son's not involved in this except as a human shield. So you don't, under any circumstances, want to shoot his son, and he's making you do something you do not want to do. So that's the situation that they're putting us in. And so British people are in this situation of, we would love to get along and have good lives and so on, but we look and you guys everyone's stacking this deck against us, and then you call us racist when we say we don't want our daughters being raped.
Well, to be fair, the Jews, they're basically asking for it by refusing to be genocided. So Yeah.
That's the word on the street.
Yeah.
Why did AP remove his beard? Haram. That is pretty haram.
It is. It is. I decided to be more a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. AP enjoyed his role in Mohammed Meets Queers for Palestine a little more than he should have, and he went and shaved his beard.
It was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Can you make vids on Muslim Lantern? I think Muslim Lantern is that coward who likes to copyright strike anyone who goes through his videos and stuff. But we'll do it anyway because we'll win the copyright strikes. It's kind of interesting to see them do the fake copyright strikes because that gets you in trouble after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Thank Ezra for all that important timer. That would be an interesting. Because you were an atheist and you would bring up the verse about Ezra. You'd bring up Surah 9, verse 30. So it's not just 929, it's 930. Very relevant.
It's one of the primary things that I would bring up.
That would be top 5. That would be top 5 for me if I was bringing up objections to the Quran.
It's pretty based.
Lloyd says, it hurts David when you say this one's a good one. Oh, it hurts David when you say this one's a good one when reading super chats because it means the previous one weren't good. I understand how the Wingeling feel when Winger doesn't have super chats because he knows they have nothing super to chat about. That's true. He does know that. They have some. Yeah, normally.
This one's a good one.
Yeah, normally when I say, hey, this is a good one, it's like this is something that's right on topic, or it's something we haven't been talking about, but it is a really, really important point here.
Yeah, this one was a good one.
Next Olympics opener, Daniel Pikachu does drag queen story hour in search of his next bride. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Surely Allah loves leather straps. Yes, he does. That he does. That he does. I was told that hadith are not the Quran and we should not judge it by them. More opinions and that the Quran have beautiful stories. Do you have examples? Yeah, Mumu, there are serious people who have a Quran only position, right? Quran only Muslims, like sometimes called Quranis or something like that. Most of the time when someone's saying, oh no, don't go to the hadith, it's not an actual Quran only Muslim. It's just someone who is trying to deceive you because they don't want you bringing up hadith passages. So in order to figure out what kind of Muslim you're dealing with, a serious Quran only Muslim, or someone who's pretending to be Quran only because they don't want to defend the hadiths, just you can ask them basic questions like, what's the Shahada? If they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, that comes from the hadith. Ask them how many times a day they pray. If they say 5, that comes from the hadith, not from the Quran.
The hadith.
Yeah, so Quran only Islam has its own set of problems. Namely, you can't understand a lot of passages in the Quran without going outside and understanding the historical context. And so, but it does mean there's less to defend, and without the historical context, you can twist verses a bit more. So that's why lots of people go to that. With that said, there are people who are serious Quran only Muslims, and so
historically there was a very, very small, a very tiny movement of Quran only people among the Muslims who actually had serious arguments for that. Who said this is enough, we don't need more, it already says everything has been revealed to you, so why would we want to record anything else? And there are warnings against recording anything else and all that. Nowadays most of the Quran only fans are just people who are scared of, why are you laughing? People who are scared of the hadith. That's why they choose to identify as Quran only fans.
Yeah, and so you can ask a couple, and you can spot them because they actually have a pretty negative view of hadiths. Matter of fact, the first one I was ever talking to, and I realized, no, this is actually a serious Quran only guy. I said, so wait, you don't recite the Shahada? And he goes, no, it's shirk. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm taking this guy seriously. When he called the Shahada shirk, right? Because you're including Muhammad. And that was the guy who first said, he goes, man, if a king sends a letter to a person and the mailman shows up with the letter, what are you going to do? Build your life around the mailman? No, you got the letter. You got the letter from the king. What's the postman? He's just the guy who brought the letter. You don't build your life around him, but that's what Muslims are doing. They're like, oh, here's the guy, here's the messenger who brought the message. Therefore, let's build our life around him. He's going, it's shirk. I was like, wow. Okay, I believe that he takes that position seriously.
Yep.
What are you laughing at? You're
Nothing.
grinning and laughing like a little kid somehow.
No. Wasn't.
Let's see. Gavid and Gay P. Can we see AP's live reaction to Sal and Shake It Off Dolly music video, please? Also, please get Tommy Robinson on your live stream. Love your work. Yeah, wouldn't mind having Tommy on at some point. Not getting the live reaction right now. We would have to do. I'd have to get that ready. AP pulls stuff up. AP pulls stuff up. I import stuff into my program, so I do that separately.
Because I'm beast. I saw recently that Gad Saad had Tommy Robinson on, and apparently the video was not just demonetized, it was also restricted, meaning it's like no comments available, no recommendations, no like function, and so on, just because he had Tommy Robinson on. And the thing is, the reasoning is something about dangerous or terrorist organization, something policy.
Yeah.
So having Tommy Robinson on means putting your channel on the radar there.
Yeah, guys, just so everyone knows, the most trouble I've ever gotten in with YouTube on a specific video, because I know I would normally win my appeals. I would normally win appeals. It might take a long time. One of the ones they would never budge on was after Tommy Robinson got arrested. Me and Robert had a live stream where we just talked about it, and we were like, this is from an American perspective, this is crazy, because he's on a public street live streaming. He shared no information about the case that he wasn't reading off a BBC article, right? So he's just reading information that was already in the public domain. He wasn't giving, because that is a rule over there. It's not a rule over here. In the United States, if you are concerned, in the United States, if a judge is concerned about a jury being contaminated by seeing that, you sequester the jury, right? You keep the jury from hearing this stuff. You don't stop the press. You don't stop the press. In the UK, you stop the press from reporting. You say, press, you cannot report on this. And what do? The judges would keep doing that about the grooming gangs trials. So all these grooming gang trials are going on, and judges are saying no one's allowed to report on this stuff, and which is sick and insane. We're looking at this going, judges are making it rules that you can't comment on these trials. Are you insane? All this stuff that's going on. Anyway, Tommy Robinson goes out there. There are no journalists there because they're not allowed to talk about it. But the rule is you cannot give information about what's going on in the trial. You can share information that's public domain. So he's just there, and he's sitting there reading a BBC article because he's not allowed to talk about anything else. They arrest him anyway. What was he arrested for? Like a year and a half? Anyway, they actually banned that for, I don't remember what it was, hate speech or something like that. And I spent months asking them, what in here are you finding? They would never respond, and they would never unban it. And so it's actually, yeah, Tommy Robinson will get you in trouble on YouTube. Maybe we do something on Twitter. They've got things on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do something. And here we have, hey, you remember this guy? Mercedes F1 fan?
Oh, yeah.
Used to be a Muslim. He used to talk trash, and then he said he left Islam one day.
I don't buy it.
Mercedes F1 fan. Here he says, it's either a metaphor or Allah knows best, or you don't know Arabic, religion of 1,000 excuses.
Beast.
That's true. That is dawah. Indian here. My Muslim friend leaked the boys' group chat when I told him I like a Jewish girl. Isn't leaking the boys' group chat a universal sin?
It is.
Yeah, your buddy's snitching, man. You need a new friend. Anyway, all right, we ready for the next point?
No.
There was only two main ones that I wanted to get to. There's some other things in the video, but the other one is Surah 4, verse 34. You ready?
Oh, no.
This is going to be some powerful, powerful dawah.
I know that one.
So 434, that's giving you permission to beat your wives. And I think we're going to catch a little hijab being a little deceptive on this one, but don't believe me. We'll wait and see.
I want to ask one of the most popular questions that atheists ask. Does the 34th verse of Surah Al-Nisa say that women can be beaten? Is it true?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the word used in فَضْرِبُ وَضْرِبُهُنَّ, right? So, and the word daraba, it means hit. Okay, that's what the word means in the Arabic language. It's used in different contexts in the Quran, but the word does actually mean hit.
Okay. I think this would be about the only part where he's being honest. The word does mean hit. Hit them. Huh. All right. So we've got that so far. And now things are going to go downhill.
Really, it's not meant to be something which hurts the woman. Okay, it's meant to be something which is symbolic. Really and truly, it's meant to be. So if you look at the tafsir and what Ibn Abbas and others said, it's like using a stick and something. It's like symbolic. It's not actually meant to cause pain, if you like, you know. And in fact, there is explicit negation, or there is explicit prohibition, I should say. And also there is, in fact, a prohibition in general not to hit your woman. There's
a prohibition in general not to hit.
Where do we find that?
Hang on. Oh, I know where he's getting it. Let's let him finish, and then we're going to show. Any of you Dawa guys who are watching, if you see Hijab say this, and then we pull up the passage, and you still have any respect for him, let's just say we are morally very different.
تَضْرِبُوا إِمَاءَ اللَّهِ. Do not hit the women servants of Allah. It's a hadith.
Let's put that back on the screen. There's an explicit prohibition,
I should say. And also there is, in fact, a prohibition in general.
Prohibition in general, not to hit
women. تَضْرِبُوا إِمَاءَ اللَّهِ. Do not hit the women servants of Allah. It's a hadith.
Do not hit the women servants of Allah. It's a hadith, actually. We're going to take a look at that hadith.
Actually. So we understand this three-stage process as a process where a man is controlling himself and then symbolically manifests his dominance on her, his hierarchical dominance on her, by doing something symbolic which indicates that. It's not meant to harm her at all. And also it should be
not meant to harm her. Okay. We got that so far? It's not meant to harm her. Let's go ahead and look at the verse first. Let's check out the verse. 434. All right. So 434. Men are in charge of women because Allah hath made the one of them to excel the other, and because they spend of their property for the support of women. So good women are the obedient, guarding in secret that which Allah hath guarded. As for those from whom ye fear rebellion, keep in mind, it doesn't say they actually have to rebel. It says you simply have to fear rebellion from them. Admonish them and banish them to beds apart and scourge them. Then, if they obey you, keep in mind, it's the same thing as repenting in verse 9:5, Surah 9:5, right? You kill them until they repent. So you use violence until they repent. What do you do with women here? The same thing. Then if they obey you, seek not a way against them. Lo, Allah is ever high exalted, great. He's great. He's great. All right, we got this so far, AP?
Yes.
I just have to point out, this is usually interpreted as an escalation. So, as for those from whom you fear rebellion, some translations actually put first admonish them, right? So that's the first step. You warn them. Second, you banish them to beds apart. So you separate yourselves from them. And finally, you scourge them. So why would a symbolic gesture that doesn't actually hurt be the most extreme thing? You've already warned them. So why is it, a symbolic warning? You've already warned them?
Because then they would be scared that you will next time severely beat them and hurt them. None of that makes any sense.
Yeah, admonish them. So it's an escalation. Admonish them. First you're warning. Then, hey, I'm separating from you. Then this is the last straw. What are you doing? A symbolic tapping with a toothbrush. That's why those never make any sense. That's why they always sound ridiculous. All right, so let's let's go ahead and we'll check out a commentary here. First, we'll have Wahidi with the Asbab al-Nuzul. So those are the situations of the revelation. These are the historical background. This is what happened that led to this revelation. Men are in charge of women, 434. Said Muqatil, this verse, men are in charge of women, was revealed about Sa'd ibn al-Rabi, who was one of the leaders of the helpers, and his wife, Habiba, blah, 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 both of whom from the helpers. It happened, Saad hit his wife on the face because she rebelled against him. So he hit her in her face.
Beast.
He hit her in her face. Symbolically. It happened, Saad hit his wife on the face because she rebelled against him. Then her father went with her to see the prophet. Oh, we're going to see the prophet. He'll give us justice. Surely he will give us justice. So went with her to see the prophet. Allah bless him and give him peace. He said to him, I gave him my daughter in marriage, and he slapped her. That makes sense. I'm assuming most of us would be pretty ticked off if someone married our daughter and then a guy slapped her. Gave him my daughter in marriage and he slapped her. The prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, let her have retaliation against her husband. So I'm not sure how this would work if she's going to slap him back. Hopefully not, because he's a man. He's going to be stronger and he's going to be able to take a better shot. So hopefully this is the men from her family are going to slap the crap out of this dude as retaliation. Something like that, right? So he says, let her have retaliation against her husband. As she was leaving with her father to execute retaliation, so slap for slap apparently. So as they're leaving, the prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, called them and said, come back, Gabriel has come to me. And Allah exalted is he, revealed this verse, what, 434, that men are allowed to beat their wives.
Beast.
What is this in reference to? A hit in the face. Is this a symbolic hit in the face? Is that what Mohammed Hijab wants us to believe? This is a symbolic slap in the face? The only slap in the face here is Mohammed Hijab's deception. The messenger of Allah. Hey, watch what Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, says. Right there in the middle. The messenger of Allah, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, we wanted something while Allah wanted something else. And that which Allah wants is good. What did we want? So Muhammad and the woman and her father, we wanted retaliation to punish this man for slapping his wife in the face. Allah wanted something else. What? He wanted men to be able to beat their wives. And then what does it say? Retaliation was then suspended. There's no retaliation against a man for hitting his wife. And you have multiple narrations that give basically the same story. There you have it. They're in quotations. Oh, messenger of Allah, so-and-so has slapped our girl. The prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, kept saying, retaliation, retaliation, and there is no other judgment to be held. But then this verse, men are in charge of women, was revealed. And the prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, we wanted something and Allah wanted something else. What is this saying? Saying, yeah, we want to punish the man for beating his wife, for hitting his wife. But Allah says no. Allah says that the man can beat his wife.
Beast.
And famous hadith here that we've been through many times. You see how seriously Muhammad took this idea that men could beat their women. Keep in mind, does this sound symbolic? Does this sound symbolic, ladies and gentlemen? This is Sahih al-Bukhari 5825. Narrated Ikrimah. Rifah divorced his wife, whereupon Abdurrahman bin Az-Zubair al-Karazi married her. Aisha said that the lady came wearing a green veil and complained to Aisha, of her husband and showed her a green spot on her skin caused by beating. So this man symbolically beat her until her skin turned green. It was the habit of ladies to support each other. So when Allah's messenger came, Aisha said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. Look, her skin is greener than her clothes. And you can continue reading this passage, but Muhammad condemns the woman, not the man. Condemns her for being a bad wife. So guys, is Mohammed Hijab being honest when he says this is the Quran only refers to a symbolic beating that doesn't hurt her? And this woman is beaten until her skin turns green. And then you have Aisha saying, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. The pagan women did not suffer as much as Muslim women. Not according to me, not according to AP, according to Aisha, the mother of the faithful, the wife of Muhammad. She said it.
Sounds pretty rough.
That sounds pretty rough. So you can symbolically beat your wife by slapping her in the face. It's just symbolic. You can symbolically beat her until her skin turns green. All that's good. All that's good. And this is dawah, ladies and gentlemen. This is
My
dawah.
wife is not obeying me. I'm gonna go there and symbolically beat her.
One more hadith, AP. Remember what Mohammed Hijab said? He said there's a general prohibition against beating women.
Yes.
He quoted it, right? He quoted it. Everyone remember that? We just watched it. Hijab
Yes.
said, no, there's this general prohibition. It's a hadith. It says, do not beat the handmaidens of Allah. Remember that, guys?
Yes.
Everyone remember that? We just watched it. Let's go ahead and read the hadith on that. Iyas ibn Abdullah reported God's messenger as saying, do not beat God's handmaidens. Don't beat the handmaidens of Allah. Muhammad Hijab is correct. That is laid down as a rule. It says it right there. Allah's messenger, that's Muhammad, said, do not beat Allah's handmaidens. Wow, I guess Muhammad Hijab was right, unless we keep reading. So, Muhammad said, don't beat God's handmaidens. But when Umar came to God's messenger and said, the women have become emboldened toward their husbands, he gave license to beat them. Then,
wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait, watch what happens now. Then many women went round God's messenger's family complaining of their husbands. Complaining of what about their husbands? Their husbands are beating them. And so they go and do what? They go and complain to Muhammad's family. So they're complaining to Aisha, our husbands are beating the crap out of us. What's going on here? And he said, so Muhammad replied, many women have gone round Muhammad's family complaining of their husbands. Those are not the best among you. So the women who are complaining that their husbands are beating them, they're not the best. Guys, think about this hadith. We've already seen multiple examples of this. So at first, you see the beginning of this hadith, don't beat Allah's handmaidens. Then what happens? A woman comes, hey, Muhammad, my husband hit me in my face. That's when 434 is revealed and conveniently coincides with Umar saying, hey, women think they can run their mouths now and we won't pop them in their mouths. So what's going on? And then, thankfully for the Ummah, Muhammad reveals Surah 4, verse 34. He gave license to beat them. Then many women went around God's messenger. Why? Because now their husbands are beating them until their skin turns green. And we just read an example of this, where she comes to Aisha, says they complain to Muhammad's family. So they're going to Muhammad's wives, complaining, my husband is beating me. Look at this. Look at my green skin. And then Muhammad does what? In the story we just read. He condemns the woman for being a bad wife. And what's he do right here? Says the exact same thing. The women complaining about their husbands, these aren't the best. No, these are bad ladies. Why? Because Allah says you can beat them.
I did not hear. It's not true.
AP, so, I mean, guys, especially Muslims in the chat, seriously. Hijab actually quoted in response to 434, says, you beat your wives, admonish them, banish them the beds apart, and scourge them. In response, he says, no, it can't mean that because you have a general prohibition against beating wives. It's in the hadith. It says, don't beat God's handmaidens. And when you actually read what happened, he did that at first. Then Allah reveals 434 that you can beat them. Then men start beating the crap out of their wives until their skin turns green. Aisha says what? Aisha says, I haven't seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. Muslim women have it worse than pagans, Christians, Jews, anyone. Is this guy honest? Is that an honest response, ladies and gentlemen? Was that an honest response that he gave? He quoted the beginning of this and left out the rest, which completely and obviously justifies wife beating. And what were these women complaining about? Were they complaining about, oh, my husband gave me a symbolic tap with a toothbrush? Were they complaining about a symbolism? Is that what they were doing? Complaining about symbolism? No, they were complaining because their husbands were beating the crap out of them.
How do we know that we're beating the crap out of them? How do we know that?
You saw it in the passage.
What did it say there?
says beat until her skin turns green. And then you have all these women who are complaining about their husbands.
Okay, how do we know that that the skin turning green is not a symbolic green?
It's a symbolic green. No, it means she was turning green like the Hulk.
Man.
And guys, this is the guy that Muslims think is their golden boy. He's their golden boy. This is nuts.
The golden showers and all that.
This is absolutely crazy. This is Dawah. And guys, those were his best responses. Those were his best responses. We might look at a little more. No, we will. We will look at a little more of that because. But those are the verses. And then he goes through, and then he's asked about the testimony of women being half as valuable as a man's testimony in the Quran. He ignores that. He talks about interest and he talks about inheritance. And that was it. That was it. Those were the big questions about the Quran. Others were like general things like, why does Allah want people to have to know Arabic and things like that? So if they're talking about actual atheist objections of any knowledgeable atheists, they're leaving out a whole lot of things. And then the ones he actually responded to completely contradict Muhammad's companions, the Hadith, the Tafsir, contradicts all of it.
Yeah.
And that's Dawah.
Mohammed Hijab knows. When I was a big atheist, I made videos that asked some very serious questions. Very serious questions about things that the Quran says. Maybe Mohammed Hijab should take some time and respond to those serious questions.
And maybe... Wait, the Towards Eternity, those guys are Turkish?
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah.
That explains
Turks are terrible people. So Turks are terrible people. That's one aspect of it.
You should contact them and be like, hey, you're Turkish, I'm Turkish.
You're Turkish.
So you guys can be honest. You can be honest with me for once. You can say that. You can be honest with me, Turk to Turk. How about you actually respond to our actual objections? And how about you actually don't let them get away with flat out lying in response? Because when you guys, either these guys are completely clueless and they just run a YouTube channel, or they know their sources. If they know their sources, then they know he was just lying. In which case,
they will say,
it's a channel for deception. It's wild stuff, wild stuff. All right, take a couple super chats and then we'll see Hijab's response to a couple other issues. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be super powerful. I've been getting a startling amount of men thinking I'm woman lately. Couldn't imagine why. That's from Beardless AP.
Oh, yeah.
Giovanni says, let's see, AP, why are you laughing? D Wood in his head. Quran only fans.
Yeah. What a thing to laugh about.
Mosh Cohen says, Quran only equals I can't defend my cult. Why bother? I would say, I don't know the actual percentages, but I would estimate somewhere in the ballpark of 90% of people who say that Quran only Muslims aren't Quran only Muslims. They're saying that to avoid the Hadith. And I would say probably at least 90%. I would estimate that it's higher, but yeah, that's what you're saying is correct. It's people who don't want to defend the embarrassing material in the Hadith.
It's probably very hard to encounter Quran-only fans who actually only stick to the Quran and who don't accept anything else, who completely let go of the Sunnah and all that. It's probably extremely, 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 and extremely rare.
Tezbot says, any thoughts on Keir Starmer, two-tier policing, etc., preparing for Islamic takeover UK? You could, in theory, you could have some conspiracy of an Islamic takeover. You don't need anything like that. You need a bunch of people who are just convinced that they're doing the right thing because they're combating Islamophobia. In other words, you have people who are brought up all their lives having any problem with what this group does can only be the result of racism. It can't be because you know the ideology and how dangerous it is, or you see its impact on your society. It can't be any of that. You must just hate brown people. And so if you've absorbed that idea, you view yourself as the hero. You don't have to be thinking in your head, I'm going to help the Islamic takeover and overthrow of all these people. I'm going to do it. You don't. It's just those are the bad guys because they're obviously racist because they have a problem with Islam. So if you take
Why
that
did
view
you just
seriously,
sound
that's what you get.
Why did you just sound like Alex Jones?
Did I?
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here drinking this water and turning the frogs gay.
Man.
You have any? You have any?
Yeah, no,
you
it's totally.
have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah. It's totally. It's over for the UK. Well, there's no hope.
And we're back to bunker AP. Everyone get a bunker. Move to Minnesota. Everyone in the UK get a visa. Move to Minnesota. Build a bunker. And stay there. It's your only hope.
Yeah. There's no hope. No, there is no hope. No hope at all.
And think about this, because I mean, the two-tier policing, that is what is cluing people in, and that's what they're enraged about. They see you can be marching through the streets, waving Hamas flags, screaming death to Israel and slaughter Jews and all this. You're fine. You get a free pass. And then if you're a guy who says, hey, someone needs to stand up to this, police show up at your door. They've seen that. They've seen that happening. They realize, wait a minute, we are not being treated equally. We're being treated as inferior people in our own land. And any person who shows up on any boat is superior to us. It's one of their main things they're objecting to, which means that's what I was talking about earlier. When you see that happening, wait a minute, normally in a normal, healthy society, if you had a problem, that's why the police are there. You call the police to help. If something's wrong in your society, you contact the government and so on and say, hey, something needs to be done about this. What happens when the police and the government are the ones who are treating you like you're complete garbage? You can't take those routes anymore. And now you've got a bunch of people who have no idea what to do. And some of them are lashing out.
Beast.
And so the obvious solution would be stop the two-tier policing. That would be a pretty good first step. Stop treating these people as inferior to this other group. And stop. I have no idea how you look at people who are basically announcing, like Ali Dawah, when we get the power, we're gonna chop all their heads off and stuff like that, because they don't how do you say these are the good guys? And then anyone who opposes that, the only reason they oppose chopping a bunch of people's heads off is because of the race of the person. That's the only thing they could really be objecting to, not to mass beheadings. That couldn't possibly be what people have a problem with.
Yeah, clearly.
Ever watch those vids of guys processing different types of fish? There's this one Japanese guy that does it on YouTube, and he is skilled. What is this about?
Who made a super chat? Who's this?
Oh, you can't see this? It's a Gore Noise Bulldozer.
I knew it. I knew it was Gore Noise.
Is that the one who always asking about video games and stuff?
No, that's the one who's always asking about some weird music and stuff that has nothing to do with the topic at all. It's like always super chats that have nothing at all to do with the topic. It's quite funny.
Yeah, that is. Can you two give your opinion on Surah 19, 71-72, where the Quran says Allah has decreed all Muslims to hellfire? Yeah, that can kind of vary in translations. That is what it sounds like. 19, 71-72. It is what it sounds like, although translations can kind of mask. Let me pull up multiple translations here.
So here is the thing. There's one thing that people might not know very much about Islam is that Muslims in general believe that as a Muslim you will most likely initially go to hell and be punished there for a little bit.
Yeah,
and then there's
that's
often
exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like a purgatory thing. It sounds like a purgatory type thing. You're going to be punished for a time.
You're gonna be punished, son. And the idea is then there is the punishment is probably going to be quite long. That's the general Muslim idea. It's not going to be a very short time. It's going to be a long time down there in hell. And eventually you will be relieved from your business in hell. But if you're very, very good, if you're very, very, very good, you might evade all that, and Allah might say, you know what? I'm not going to send you down there. You've been good. So yeah, that's what Islam is.
Yeah, let me, let's see. 19. Let me show you what I was talking about with the different translations here. Let's see. Watch what happens here when you check out multiple translations. All right, here. So 1971. Look at Pickthall. There is not one of you but shall approach it. Talking about hellfire. There is not one of you but shall approach it. So look what he says. Approach it. That is a fixed ordinance of Allah. So these are Muslim translations. The first four are Orthodox Muslim translations. There is not one of you but shall approach it. Yusuf Ali. Not one of you but will pass over it. So it sounds like you're just passing over it, right? There is not one of you but will pass over it. Hell. Shakir. And there is not one of you but shall come to it. So approach it, come to it. It's like you're getting close to it. Maybe you're looking at it or something like that. And then you have passing over it. Okay. Then you get to Sher Ali and Khalifa. So Sher Ali, and there is not one of you but will come to it. And then Khalifa, every single one of you must see it. And then you get to the non-Muslim translations. Not one of you is there, but he shall go down to it. There is not one of you who will not go down to it. If you're talking about hell and you're saying approach it, it looks like you're kind of getting close to it. But if you're saying go down to hell, go down to it, it sounds like you're going down to hell, right? Rodwell, no one is there of you who shall not go down unto it. So there shall be none of you, but shall descend into the same, hell. But guess what? Those translations are the only ones that make sense. It says, then we shall rescue those who kept from evil, but we shall save those who guarded against evil. Then we shall save those who used to fear Allah, and we will deliver those who guarded against evil. Sound like he's sending you to hell, and then he's going to choose to rescue you out of it. But the way it gets translated by Muslims who don't want to think that all Muslims are going to go to hell, looks like you're getting close to it, but then he's gonna pull you out before you actually get into it.
He will say, hey, it's just a prank, dude.
Yeah. Psych.
Yeah.
Tricked you.
Chill, man. It's just a prank.
You guys are the best. Thank you. And mods too. Yes, indeed. Here we have Giovanni. I love how all the Old Testament prophets have to climb a mountain or have a dramatic scene before they speak to God. But old Mo just has Gabe and God at his convenience like, oh, wait, come back. I got a new rev. Yeah. And then especially when it's like hanging out in his room with Dihya, and it's actually the angel Gabriel.
And then he's like, why is my dress all wet again? I was just having a meeting with Jibreel.
Yeah. Mohammed Hijab says hit, not beat. Obviously, there's a world of difference between hitting and beating. Nothing to see here. Yeah, he says hit, but then he says that the hitting is symbolic. And that doesn't make sense of a woman's skin turning green and so on. It doesn't make sense of the passages.
He's like, I did not hit her. It's not true.
Yes,
I did not hit her. It was symbolic. Oh, hi, Mohammed.
Yeah. Normal is overrated says, it's like Muslim apologists know without lies, Islam dies. It is, guys. And this is really the most disturbing thing about all of this. It's that you can listen to a dawah guy. He will lie. You can completely expose the lie. In other words, you can take that clip of Mohammed Hijab. Here's what he said is in the hadith. The hadith says, yes, Muhammad said that, but no, it is not some blanket rule, because right after that, he says, oh, okay, rules, game over. You can beat them. And then Hijab makes people think that original thing, before he overruled it and abrogated the earlier one, that it's just deception. It's just flat out deception. What is absolutely amazing, you could show all Mohammed Hijab's fans that none of them would have a problem with it. Zero. It's built into their thinking. Of course our guys lie. Of course they do. How else they gonna promote Islam and defend Islam? Of course they have to lie. Wild, wild stuff.
It's a wild world out there.
Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. At the bottom of the list, there But thou shall thereof. What?
Whomst?
At the bottom of the list. There, but thou shall thereof. I don't get it.
Whomst?
That's from your buddy Giovanni.
Hey, Giovanni.
Hey, bibbidi bobbidi. Mosh Cohen says, I'm deploying again for 2 months. I want to create QR code stickers straight to your channels. May I? Absolutely. What videos should I use to attract Muslim viewers?
Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe. Yes. I don't know. Just stay safe. That's all.
What video? If someone could watch any video of yours, AP, if a Muslim could watch any video of yours, what would you want him to watch?
How Allah got his name wrong. That's the video.
That's not the one I would pick from you, but
which one would you pick?
I don't know. Something where you're blasting. Matter of fact, that is a good one because it's a point that's not normally made. Lots of other points that we make, other people have made them, whereas you're kind of the guy who's making that point.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's your thoughts on how?
Which is very confusing to me to this day, that I am not making that point.
What's your thoughts how Israel will respond if Iran attack? Love you, gorgeous pair. It will depend on the attack. If they do more rocket attacks like they did before, and the Iron Dome easily takes care of them, they will respond accordingly. If Iran actually does something that leads to serious damage, I think they're going to get the crap bombed out of them. That's what I would think. What are your thoughts on this? And the question here is like, what role is the U.S. going to play? Because they're sending ships over there now. What are your thoughts, AP?
It is a difficult situation at this moment. Iran made the promise that they will that they will seriously attack Israel, but last time it didn't really go very well, and they had to kind of lie about the impact they had. They don't want to. Iran wants war, but they're also terrified of war.
Yeah, this is a bad time. They're barely holding things together just with the protests in their own country and stuff. Yeah. Now, they could be thinking, but if we were at war, then the population's going to rally around us. I don't think so. I think the population's going to be like, now they're distracted. Now we can dial things up here.
I think Israel really does not want war, and really wouldn't want a war with Iran. It would be unpredictable. It would be unpredictable and would put so much at jeopardy. It would reverse and possibly destroy all the Abraham Accords and negotiations with the Arab nations and all that. It would be. It's total. There are some people who say Israel is trying to drag us into a war. I don't know what they're smoking. Israel definitely does not want a war with Iran. It would lead to very bad consequences that Israel really doesn't want to be in. However, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. There's a lot to speculate on here.
Yeah, I have to say that Israel's response is going to depend on the success of Iran's attack. Just like Israel's response in Gaza was based on how much damage Hamas did. If Hamas had slipped across the border and killed one person, it would have been a very different kind of response. So it's going to depend on what Iran does. But I think it would be, Israel doesn't want to do it, but they will do it. And I think it would be disastrous for Iran. And it might be this weird situation. You've got so many groups that hate Iran, like Saudi Arabia and so on, that hate Iran. Those places might if Israel gets into a war with Iran, other nations might, even though they might not officially be able to say anything, behind the scenes they're going to be like, I hope Israel just crushes these guys.
Yep. Israel would be doing everyone a favor if they actually crushed Iran, because nobody likes
People
Iran.
don't like Iran. Nobody likes Iran.
Nobody in the Middle East likes Iran.
Nobody in the world likes Iran at all.
Nobody in the world likes Iran. That's true. Yeah, nobody in the world likes Iran.
The only people who like Iran are the actual Iranians who hate the government that they're under.
Yes,
and so they want to dramatically change Iran into something that would be much better.
I think in the past I was against this. In the past, I was against this because I thought interfering and overthrowing governments is probably not the way. In the past, it has been very, very, very bad. We have terrible experiences with that. However, I think at this point, with the way Iran has been behaving, I think the only proper solution to this is to through the old-fashioned way, through covert operations, take out the Iranian Islamic regime and install a new government that will collaborate with neighboring nations and will stop being such a nuisance to the rest of the world. To hell with them. Sorry.
Yeah, that normally doesn't, that approach that you're talking about, getting rid of Saddam, getting rid of Gaddafi and so on, normally doesn't work because people in the West think, everyone's ready for freedom and democracy, and then it doesn't work out because people are, even if some people are ready for freedom and democracy and so on, you've also got a ton of jihadis there who want to go on a killing spree, and so it doesn't work out. If any Muslim country in that area were actually ready, it would be Iran, right? You've got a bunch of people who really, they've had it before, and they remember the glory days, and they know what it's like to have mullahs take over your country and crack down on you, and they want to get rid of them. And so it's kind of if it were to work anywhere, it would work there. I don't know that it would work there, but if it's going to work anywhere over there, it would be there.
Yeah, they're sick of it, and hope they can solve this problem.
D. Woods, 1,000 Intel jokes equals 1 laugh of AP. Yes, that is the correct proportion.
Based.
Regarding the UK chaos, remind every fool leftist you all know. AP, I'm reminding you of this now. A riot is the language of the unheard. Live by nonsense, perish by nonsense. Yeah, again, it's inevitable. If you keep doing this, if you keep treating people like that, keep treating a population like that, you are going to get some sort of uprising. And some people are going to handle it not the way you would want.
And do not say, I did not see that coming.
Giovanni says, I was making fun of the ref list you were going down and how each interpreter seemed to be randomly adding more there and thous. Yeah, that's welcome to the Muslim sources. Augustine, take and read proceeds to abandon hedonism. Momo, read 3 times, proceeds to get squeezed by Jabril and semen stains spill all over his clothes. That is correct. Lloyd says, what's the best way to support you where you get most of the money sent? Probably something like Patreon, right? Your Patreon.
In my case, it would be, I set up this whole thing.
Or your website.
Yeah, apostateprofit.com/donate. That would be my place. We should set up something like that for you too, to make it easier.
Yeah, that's true. But Patreon works fine. But yeah, AP has his thing set up. And then we'll watch a little bit more Mohammed Hijab, but we've gotten his responses to 2 actual objections of atheism. We just didn't get an honest response. Shocker. Paolo says,
I'm surprised because normally Muslim apologists always give very honest responses.
Yeah, they're the most truthful people in the world until you ask them something. Let's see. Just a random thought. Can you two do a show doing a comparison of Western law versus Islamic law? I recall actually doing a presentation years ago on basically the UN human rights, the UN's description of human rights, and then how Islam violates it, and violates like every point of it. I remember that a long time ago, but yeah, it might be good to do something just Western law in general and the principles that underlie it versus Islamic law, which undermines that, because that's the thing. They're not consistent. They don't get along well. I have a Muslim woman telling me as a Muslim woman, she has more rights under Islamic law. Yeah, we've just been through them. She has a right to get beaten and to keep her mouth shut. Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about. Paolo, if you tell this Muslim woman she's welcome to join us live for a discussion on these things at some point. Be happy to have a conversation with her and go kind of point for point. And here we have, by the end of the show, AP's facial hair will be fully back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can notice a significant difference even since yesterday. So yeah, fast-growing AP Turkish facial hair.
Speaking of facial hair growing back, I recently saw a clip of Bishop Marmari, who apparently he got a prosthetic eye now. He took the thing off and he has a prosthetic eye. Oh. So that's how he preaches nowadays.
That would only be acceptable. One, you would want a big cross right in the middle of it. Or if I ever get an eye taken out, I would have like a patch with like a big bling cross on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a bullseye on it and be like, I think I'm scared.
And he was speaking about, yes, I have an eye now. It doesn't work, but maybe we can pray and make it work.
But he's funny. Hey, real quick, before we watch a little more of what Mohammed Hijab said, when I asked people what objections they would have to the Quran, the one I saw most was Surah 65, verse 4. But we actually had Mohammed Hijab's thoughts on 65:4 from an older video. Let's go ahead and check that out.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
What?
The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all. If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
It would be halal to have sex with a 5-year-old if you just go with the Quran. Keep in mind, guys, he's not saying, just to be fair, he's not saying that it's actually okay to have sex with a 5-year-old. He's saying that if you just go to the Quran, it would be. You have to go outside of the Quran to find out. No, you should wait a little bit longer than 5. Although, given his principles and those of Daniel Hukikachu, it could be a 5-year-old, but it's going to have to be a 5-year-old with a little meat on her bones, so you're not going to squish her.
In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ.
Never have puberty.
وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. And the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this.
These poor girls. Look at all these poor girls here.
This is so funny. This is the kind of stuff he usually says during a speech, and this is very important. I want everyone to be aware of this. But then he's speaking about this and how disgusting the Quran actually sounds if you only read the Quran. And he's like, and this is very important. I want all Muslims to be aware of how horrible the Quran sounds if you read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've pointed out before, so what he's saying here is, if you just go with the speech of Allah, you would conclude that you could have sex with a 5-year-old. And you just heard him say halal, right? You just heard him, everyone, say halal. It would be halal according to the Quran. But in most cases, it's going to be haram because he believes it would be harmful, and he interprets the Quran as he interprets the Hadith as saying that you shouldn't harm people, and they're just going to apply that to this situation and so on. And so you normally wouldn't do it with a 5-year-old unless she's, really well developed or something like that. So you're going to wait a couple extra years so that you make sure you don't harm her by squishing her or something like that. But think about what he's actually said. He says specifically, it's according to the Quran, it would be halal. We know it's haram because of going outside the Quran to what other people, including Muhammad, have said. Why is this a problem? AP, you remember when Muhammad said that if Allah says something is halal and you let a man say it's haram and you go with what the man says, you're actually worshiping that man?
Yes.
And what's that mean? It means that Mohammed Hijab is worshiping Muhammad and the Hadith collectors, and he's worshiping them. Not according to me. It's according to Muhammad. According to Muhammad, Mohammed Hijab is worshiping. He has made idols out of the people who convinced him that what Allah says in the Quran is halal is actually haram.
That's right.
Worshiping them.
The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
Can't go around
the Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So
I agree. There's nothing there, Mohammed Hijab. Point taken.
Your Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. One verse. I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book which says that she has to be pubescent. So okay, so that makes it halal from your perspective.
You just said halal.
From your perspective, it's halal. You know, in the Quran it says حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ. It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister, your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent? I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if your Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia, a wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on. It's kind of funny to me that he says pedophilia is severe type of pedophilia.
Severe type of pedophilia.
Because
not just regular.
Pedophilia is okay. That's normal. Like, we all believe in that. But
severe
this
type
is
of
a
pedophilia.
severe type of pedophilia. Severe type of. Keep that in mind. Not all regular pedophilia. It's a severe type of pedophilia.
Yeah, and those were just some clips. He at the end there, you may have caught it. He said you'd be steered towards a severe type of wife abuse. And that's because if you watch a longer video, and as far as I know, it's still on his channel, you can look it up. It's called something like Mohammed Hijab responds to Quran only Muslims or something like that. There, he also says that since 434 simply says you can hit them or you can strike them, he points out if you did not have the hadith laying some restrictions on this, guess what? It's the same word that's used as strike the necks in battle of people in battle. So he's saying you think you could behead your wives. You think you could massacre them for rebelling against you. If you didn't go to the hadith. What's that?
If you have a wife, why shouldn't you be able to behead her? You know, it's like
And let's see, we have a question here. Which verse says that exactly? We're talking about Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran. Surah 65, just give you a quick rundown. You had earlier commands in the Quran that had to deal with rules about divorcing and someone in a waiting period. So in order to avoid confusion, there would be a waiting period. If you divorced a woman, how long did she have to wait before she could get married to another man? Well, she couldn't get married the next day. What if she got pregnant or something like that, and you weren't sure who's the child was? So he said, women who get divorced, they have to wait 3 monthly menstrual cycles. Eventually, the question got brought up to Muhammad: what about women who are too old for a monthly menstrual cycle, or girls who are too young to have a menstrual cycle, or for pregnant women who don't have a menstrual cycle? And that's when Allah revealed Surah 65, verse 4, which set the terms for women who are too old to have a monthly menstrual cycle and girls who are too young to have a monthly menstrual cycle. It just said 3 months. So wait 3 months. Don't wait for cycles. They don't have monthly menstrual cycles. Just wait 3 months. And so anyway, the idea is, what's being stated there? You can marry, have sex with, and divorce a girl all before she's reached puberty. She has to wait 3 months before she gets married again, this prepubescent girl. And that's what Hijab was pointing out. He's pointing out, it specifically says, these are girls who have never had puberty. They haven't reached puberty. So it's as clear as day. You can go down through you can go down through all the commentators. Ibn Abbas says that's what it means. Ibn Kathir says that's what it means. The two Jalals and Tafsir Jalalain say that's what it means. Perfectly clear, perfectly gross. But it's weird. He's bringing up in that video from Towards Eternity, he's supposedly responding to the main verses that atheists bring up about the Quran. Shocker, left that one out. I wonder why. Because it hasn't gone too well for him in the past when he's brought up that issue.
It's because atheists just don't know how to ask proper questions. That's why.
That's right. That is good. They should say something better.
Brother Mohammed Hijab,
All right.
welcome to Towards Eternity.
Let's just check out a little bit more of what he says here, because he does address a couple of interesting issues here. Let's see.
Into the individual as well.
He had this the longest answer he gave, I think, was on interest. He really went off on how bad interest is, and which is funny, because if you understand how Sharia compliant bank loans and stuff work, they just do something else, right? So instead of saying we're going to charge you interest, the bank says, okay, the house is $200,000. We'll buy the house, we'll own the house, and agree to sell it to you for $250,000, and you can pay in monthly installments until you've paid us the entire $250,000. So they buy it for $200,000, they charge you $250,000, and you make payments on it until you've paid the entire $200,000, until you've paid $250,000, whatever. But it amounts to being the same thing. You end up doing the same thing. You're paying them for them giving you the money. And it's just like everything else in Islam. As long as you call it something different, it's different. So you can hire a prostitute, just marry her for the time where you're banging her, and then it's not prostitution, even though you're paying her to have sex with her. So if you call it something else, then you're just fine. That's how things work in Islam.
Isn't the Quran so strict in putting limits on believers' lives? People want to live freely and enjoy themselves. What is wrong with that?
That's an atheist objection.
Fine, but the question is, who's asking this question, and on what basis do they think that they have the right balance on what limits should be put on a human being's life and what limits shouldn't be put on a human being's life? So in other words, it's almost as if they're coming with, okay, we want to live in this kind of way, and the Quran forbids that. But the question is, who gets to set the criterion? So the Quran says, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Does he not know what he created, and he is the all aware? The one who's most aware of the human being has the most right to tell the human being what to do. And
okay. So follow the reasoning. Allah obviously has the most right to tell us how to live, and therefore we have to listen to him. The question is, why should we be thinking that this is actually our Creator speaking to us? So our Creator comes along and says, you know what? I've got the best advice. I want everyone to live exactly like this 7th century Arabian caravan robber who molested a little girl. That's the best. That's the best advice I can give you all. The best advice I can give you all is to do everything the way this 7th century Arabian caravan robber and pedophile did it. And that's what I know is the best way to live.
Only makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's Hijab's response.
or to tell them how to.
And keep in mind, when we ask, hey, why should we believe in this guy? They have no answers anymore. They've abandoned the arguments that they used to use.
Best live his life. To tell him conceptions of what is referred to as a good life, the best quality of life. How can you get it? So the Quran is telling us how to get the best quality.
Yes, and the Quran's done such a bang-up job of telling everyone how to have the best quality of life that all the people who absorb the teachings and know about the best quality of life run to Western nations to have a better quality of life.
Of life. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah wants good for you, ease for you, and He does not want difficulty for you at the end of the day. That's what the Quran says. Like even all the difficulties that you get from some of the, commands of God, which are short-term difficulties, in the long run, these are all going to be better for you than had you indulged in the things that you want to indulge in. If someone's saying that, I would say to them, look, this kind of mentality is not going to get you anywhere in life. Because at the end of the day, those who are most successful are those who have the most trait conscientiousness in psychological terms, most disciplined people, the most temperate people.
Yeah, and that's these guys out. We're going to chop all your heads off. Yeah, we're going to chop all the heads off of all the unbelievers, and we're going to go take all the daughters and make them our sex slaves and stuff. You see, these. Well, he's actually praising the virtues of his community.
I mean, you just see that this is completely true when you look at the world, and you see in which parts of the world people have the highest human development and all that. In which parts of the world quality of life is the lowest. You will generally find that the Muslim world is at the lower end, quite low, which of course means that Islam provides the better. Oh, wait a minute! No, it's not true.
Yeah,
interesting.
And my goodness, if Middle Eastern Muslim nations weren't sitting on a sea of oil, It'd be significantly worse because I mean,
They would be sitting
yeah,
severe.
the ocean of oil that you're sitting on did actually help you guys out financially. Islam, not so much. Apart from once you couldn't subjugate people and take all their stuff, it didn't work out. It was a defective system. So you got Hijab here complaining about interest when the Islamic system is conquer people and make them pay you their stuff. Good stuff.
And if you don't have temperance and you're able to delay gratification, then whether or not you decide...
He's actually... The guys who lose their mind if they see an ankle, these are the people... These are the masters of temperance and self-control. What sort of fantasy land do these guys live in, man?
This guy talking to us about self-control and delayed gratification is wow.
Can I suck your wife's tit? Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself. Golden showers. What is this, man? What is this?
To be a Muslim as an atheist, you're going to be a failure. That's something I can tell you for a fact. Whether or not you decide to be a Muslim, you will be a failure because it's only successful people in any field who decide to delay gratification and who decide to discipline themselves in the short term for the long-term success.
All symbols in Islam are reminiscent.
Okay. So we got that, and I think here he's responding to the idea that why are we trying to make everyone Arab? Is that what Islam is? Let's see. A reminiscent of Arab culture. I think this is where this is happening.
Of Arab culture. For example, the Quran is in Arabic, the Adhan is in Arabic, the way of dressing in worship is Arabic style. Why would a non-Arab be forced to adapt to all these?
Good question.
Isn't this imposing the Arab culture? For example, an Englishman, if he becomes Muslim, does he have to leave his culture behind?
Absolutely not. I mean, look, the thing is, Allah is...
What?
Nothing. I was singing a song, Englishman in New York.
It says it explicitly in the Quran. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. That all humankind, we have made you into a man and a woman and made you into tribes and nations so that you may know one another, get to know one another, and that the best of you are the most pious. If Allah wanted everything to be to be a complete homogeneity in the idea of nationhood or culture, He wouldn't have created us in different tribes and people. There would have been one singular language and that was it. But He created different languages, created different foods, different cultures, different colors. And there are many verses in the Quran, which, for example, one verse is talking about the mountains and the colors of the mountain. And وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, the people are like that. They're varied, just like the colors of the mountains you have.
None of this has anything to do with the question.
Okay. You're still not answering the question at all.
Yeah, it's okay, guys. Let me restate the actual issue, which I bring up pretty regularly. Right? Once you become a Muslim, they start saying, okay, you have to memorize these prayers in Arabic, and you get the call to prayer, and it's in Arabic, and then you have to start dressing like a 7th century Arab, and you take an Arab name. You do this. Why? Oh, because the last prophet was... Okay, what's that? What's the connection? If the last prophet had been sent to Japan, would you be walking around in kimonos? Is that what you'd be doing? And speaking Japanese? And oh no, we have to memorize these prayers in Japanese? And so if you look at Islam, it really looks like the takeaway, the fundamental message is that the creator of the universe is obsessed with you walking, talking, living, dressing, speaking, and even going to the bathroom the way a 7th century Arab would. It's like obsessed with it. So that's it. That's a question that I would ask as well. Why is Allah obsessed with everyone acting like they're 7th century Arabs? Even if they're in the UK, even if they're in Canada, even if they're in China. No, you have to live like 7th century Arabs. You have to become basically culturally 7th century Arabs. And then Hijab's response, no, Allah loves different cultures. He loves diversity. Why does he keep saying all this stuff that it's all about Arabic? Why? You didn't answer it.
Oh, no, Allah says diversity is our strength.
Yes, that's what He says. It works so well.
This kind of color, the people are like that as well. And that brings about a richness and a variety into the human experience.
Allah's all about diversity.
Allah is telling us this is why we're doing it, so that we can get to know one another.
Yeah, so that's why you've had the LGBTQ flag at all these Muslim protests and so on. That's why you have the LGBT, because Allah loves this diversity.
Yeah.
He loves the rainbow
People have something you don't have. And these people over here have something you don't have. So get to know one another and see how these people are doing things. See how these people here are doing things. Learn from each other. Because there's always going to be something these people have that these people don't have. And these people have that these people don't have. And so on and so forth.
So,
Does that sound anything like Islam?
No, and also he didn't answer the question at all.
Did not.
He didn't even get close to answering the question.
Didn't come within 1,000 miles of answering the questions. Just basically pretended that it's not an issue. No, Allah loves diversity. He loves different languages. He won't speak them, but he loves all the different languages. And he loves all the different peoples. And I guess it's just a great mystery as to why he wants all these different people to suddenly act like they're Arab.
We will never know why that is. Allah loves diversity. Allah says in the Quran, diversity is our strength. So, yeah.
Oh, actually, one more issue here. I did not know. I didn't see this. I actually looked it up on their video what the next point was. It's, if Islam is true, why are Muslims weak? I'm actually interested in this one. That is, because he's the one who did the poll. Remember, he said, hey, when you're doubting Islam, it was a poll for Muslims. He said, when you have doubts about whether your religion is true, what's causing those doubts? And the number one answer was moral problems with Muhammad. So thank you, Hijab, for letting us know that. That's been very helpful. But another one that was really highly ranked was the weakness of the Ummah. And Islam is just supposed to grow stronger and stronger and stronger and expand until it takes over the world and so on. And you look and it's, no, Western nations, please, sir, may we have some more? May we have some more? Please give us some more benefits here, sir. Can we have some more? And it's like, that's not the way it's supposed to. You're supposed to be crushing us and humiliating us and so on. And so you look around at the world from a Muslim perspective, it's like, this is not the way the world is supposed to be, according to Muhammad. Something is really, really off here, and it's causing people to doubt their religion. And so he brings this up. I do not know what his response is.
Muslim doesn't have to implement the Arab culture.
No, of course not. I mean, even the Arab cultures nowadays, they're so different from each other. Like if you go to Morocco and then go to Saudi Arabia.
Okay, where's the next point? He's more on... Okay, guys, so...
What is this guy talking about? Like, there's just, I mean, at least have the guts and be a little bit unapologetic about the fact that in Islam, if you want to observe Islam, you basically have to adopt Arab culture. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. So stop giving examples from different Arab places within the Islamic world. You adopt Arab culture. The point was actually made. Credit to these Turks. For the first time, I've heard something good coming from Turks. They actually put.
It's the only good thing I've ever heard that's ever come from any Turk ever, as far as I know.
Yeah. Normally terrible people, but they actually made the point. So answer the point, man. Stupid.
Yep. Apparently, nope. Islam's all about diversity.
Quran is the truth. Why aren't Muslims today significantly more successful than non-Muslims?
Well, I mean, there's an assumption here that, for example, if you're rich, you're right. Effectively, if you're rich, that means you're right. You know, the richer you are, maybe the righter you are. Maybe the more money you have, the more truth you have as well. So, but that's obviously a false assumption. I mean, you can have a lot of money and be in complete false.
Okay, well, in what way is the Muslim world, the Ummah, more successful than anyone else? It doesn't. I agree. It doesn't have to be financial. You could be a poor nation and be successful in a different sense other than financial. So,
highest number of immigrants to Europe, I would say. In that way, they are very successful.
What are you talking about? We are successful at immigrating to everyone else's countries and leaving ours. We're very successful at leaving our own countries because we turn them into Sharia hellholes.
But you can be the richest man in the world and be the lowest IQ man in the world and have no truth at all, or not even care for the truth. What I'm saying is that the assumption itself is a problematic one. But
what's that?
Like Ali Dawah.
Even if we go for it, for the sake of argument, like in the Islamic empires, Islam has been around for 1,444 years. And in that time, let's be honest, for 95 years, 95% of its existence, Islam has been either one of the superpowers or the main superpower. Like even that argument doesn't work, because why are they taking effectively the last 100 years since the disestablishment of the Ottoman Empire?
What was that?
What?
Things just stuttered for a second.
Who stuttered?
Why are you stuttering?
Why are you stuttering?
I don't know. Continue.
Hey, yeah, think about what he's saying. Well, yeah, but, you know, it was so great until we lost our caliphate. So why are you judging by The times we're in right now. Because the times we're in right now are what don't make sense, Mohammed Hijab. I mean, you're the guy who said that the spread of Islam was miraculous until it got to Europe and then it didn't work anymore. So Allah gets to Europe and Allah just is powerless against Europeans. And here we see, once again, for a century now, you have no superpower. So we're saying, do you think you're getting a superpower back? What's going on here? Is this a test from Allah? Are you being punished? What is it? What is it? I would actually like to know how you interpret this, that Islam is supposed to take over the world, and right now you have a population that in theory would be big enough to do it, but it's just it's back. Muslim countries are backwards in so many ways. You can't compete with a modern Western nation, and so you're like fleeing to try and get better lives from the countries that you don't want to live in. And you're an example, Mohammed Hijab. You don't want to live in a Muslim country. You want to change a modern nation into a Muslim country. You think because that's the only way we'll get a modern country. Well, what I mean, you guys have like 50 countries. You've got dozens of nations. Why can't you transform one of those into a superpower again? Wonder if we're going to get a response.
Why are they taking that as the thing to analogize everything else with in the first place? There were times where the Europeans were, let's not call it the Dark Ages, some historians don't like it, having a difficult time economically, call it. And they had Christianity at that time, and the Muslims were...
Christianity doesn't say we're just going to expand and we're just going to keep expanding, we're going to take over the world. It's not built into our religion. This idea Islam will take over the world until all religion is for Allah. That's a Quran quote. It doesn't look like that's happening. It looks like you're getting weaker and weaker, and that you're unable to interact on a real global scale.
Yeah.
Well advanced. Those African countries, Mali, Mansa Musa was doing better than some of the European countries economically. So was it?
Think about what he's saying. It's like, hey, things fluctuate and so on. Right. That's how things work in the real world. That's not what you would expect for the Muslim world if Islam is true and the predictions were correct. If you're just saying Islam is another empire like other empires, then okay, empires rise, empires fall. It happened with the Babylonians, happened with the Persians, happened with the Greeks, happened with the Romans. Yeah, we get that. If you're saying Islam is just another one in a long series of empires that rise and fall, okay, that's fine. The point is, Islam is not supposed to be like any of those other ones. And yet it is, according to what you're just saying here.
Truth with the Muslims at that time, and Christianity and the West was false at that time, for example? Or should we say, for instance, when the Crusades, only one Crusades was won by the Christians, and the rest of them were effectively lost. Effectively, I mean, that's what's happening. So were the Muslims right then, and the Crusades and the Christian West was wrong then, for example? Yeah. Or when you had all these, the great Ottoman Empire, and what was going on in the beginning when they were facing the Russians and beating them in the beginning. So were the Russians and the Christian. So I mean, this is a foolish argument.
No, gosh.
Nobody's saying this, man.
Yeah, it's in your system. It's not part of Christianity. You're going to go and fight the Crusades and you're going to win and so on, right? It's built into your system because you have it from your prophet that when Allah is on your side, you're going to win the battle. And if you don't win the battle, it's because Allah is punishing you. That's built into your system. So if you were winning for a long time, you say, okay, Allah was on our side. Then what happens when you lose? What happens when you lose your caliphate and you guys are like running around begging for scraps around the world right now? What, is Allah punishing you? Or is he testing you? I want to know, because again, it's not built into other people's system that you're going to, like, if you win a battle, then, God's on your side. And if you lose a battle, it's because he's punishing you. That is built into your system. So if the Muslim community is so weak right now, why is Allah punishing you? And you're not dealing with that. You know who did try to deal with that issue? ISIS. They're the ones who said we're weak right now because we are not strict enough in enforcing Sharia. If we are strict enough in enforcing Sharia, then Allah will bless us. And so they went super strict. What happened? They got crushed. Oopsie, didn't work like they thought it would. The other group that tried that, the Iranian Revolution. If we just really crack down on all rebellion, then Allah will bless us and we'll take over the world. How's that working out? So
not very well.
Yeah, that's the point. It's the only reason you can say Allah's punishing you is because you're rebelling. Well, what does that mean? It means if you stop the rebelling, then Allah's going to bless that particular Muslim community, and they're going to be the ones that take over. Guess what? That's Sunnis and Shias tried that. It didn't work out. It was a disaster. So now the question, why are you so weak? You're not answering. You're not answering at all. You're saying, oh, but we're talking about Islam, the ideology where it's built into it that when you're winning, Allah's on your side, and when you're losing, it's because Allah's punishing you. That's your system. We're asking you about your system. We're not talking about the Babylonians or something like that. My goodness.
In fact, the Quran deals with it by saying, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامِ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, and these are the days which we alternate between the people. But to answer the question directly, there's no argument there, really. I'm actually still waiting for it, which indicates that the richer you are, the righter you are.
Finally.
All right.
I'm still waiting for the argument. Where is it?
All right. And keep in mind, that's an issue that Muslims told him about, right? Muslims said they're bothered by the weakness of the Ummah.
Yeah.
And I would just have to say, I don't think he did much to calm their concerns there by saying, what are you talking about? We're just like every other empire. You rise and fall, and we're in the crap zone right now.
He answered the question. It's just you cannot see it. It is not the eyes that are blind, but the heart. That's what the Quran says.
Indeed. All right, guys. Well, we've been through, he said some other stuff. You can check it out. There's a link to the full discussion. Notice, D. Wood, not scared at all of sharing Hijab's responses to things. But links in the description box. The other issues that we didn't go through, the Quran, is the Quran unfair to women's in inheritance? And they actually asked him about inheritance and why women, their testimony is half as reliable as a man's. He did not answer that part. He did respond to the inheritance issue, why the Quran forbids interest. He spent a lot of time on that. And so those are the ones we didn't go through. But if you're interested in his responses on that, and then at the very end, he talks about what would you suggest to people to have questions about Islam. And so if you're interested in more of that, you can check those out. All right, we'll take these last couple of super chats, and we'll be out. And this one's for AP from Lloyd, who says, AP, what is the minimum it would take for you to put your faith in Jesus as the Son of God and Savior? And what are the things that are currently in the way?
I agree.
No problem, AP. You can take as much time as you need.
I already answered the question.
Yeah, that might be something that requires quite a bit of thought. Yeah. Nathan says, Alex Jones on Mohammed's Boom Boom Room. Get them talking about Jews. I think I could do the voice, but he's a big guy. I'm a big guy, but he's a big guy. I don't think I'm big enough right now. I have to pack on some pounds. You know how everyone is so afraid of Christian nationalism? What would a Christian nation actually look like? What if it was a small sovereign country like Israel or Armenia, but with Protestants? It's the idea of a Christian nation as far as Christian nationalists. It's basically you've got Christians looking around at the world saying, hey, everything's so messed up. Would it be good if we just had a spot that's for Christians? The problem there, you've got Jesus saying his kingdom is not of this world. He says, if my kingdom were of this world, then my followers would be fighting to protect me right now. So he says his kingdom is not of this world. And as Christians, we're supposed to be interacting with unbelievers and so on. So when you say, here's a nation, and we're going to enforce and impose Christianity, I don't know. It seems like you can kind of understand what people are getting at, but it seems really weird. We're gonna basically isolate ourselves in this little nation here, and it's just Christians. And if someone says, "Well, I don't believe in Christianity," what are we gonna? We're gonna kick them out. We're gonna throw them in prison. We're gonna flog them. What are we gonna do? How are you imposing and enforcing Christianity? That's the idea. If you're imposing and enforcing Christianity on other people just because of where they're born, there seems to be something not Christian about it.
The funny thing is that, historically, you still have countries that are officially where Christianity is officially the state religion.
Mm-hmm.
You have countries where Christianity is officially still the favored religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when it comes to Christianity, Christians did technically have nations that were explicitly Christian and that even practiced, um, that even had the practice of excluding everyone else. So the country was only meant to be for Christians. Most Christian nations were like that. It's the Christians themselves who decided to change that over time. So you had that already. You had that already in history. It's not like something that didn't exist. With Israel, for example, it is something that wasn't there, or that didn't exist for over 2,000 years. Now, you finally have a Jewish country again, which also does not exclude others, which simply just favors Judaism, or which favors Jewishness. And insofar, it's not even very different from certain Christian countries. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is, just nowadays, when people talk about Christian nationalism, they often it's often unclear what they're referring to, and some people are really taking advantage of the idea of Christian nationalism and speaking of a nation that would be oppressing others and practicing brutal segregation and taking Christianity out of its religious values. And just making it purely political, like the Gropers, for example.
Yeah, that's the idea. See, if you wanted to, that's the difficulty. If you want to say, what do you mean by Christian nationalism? If you just said a nation of laws that are impacted by Christian teachings and so on, well, guess what? That's a bunch of Western nations. If you said you're talking about a nation made up of mostly Christians, well, there are places like that. Normally, the objections that come from Christians would be something along the lines of actually imposing Christianity on the population, forcing it, punishing people, locking people up, or something like this, or exiling them for not being Christian, and so on. And as AP pointed out, there were places like that. We generally look back on those as like not the best times for you. You could say it was. I don't know, if your goal is to have a Christian nation, you could look at it and say good times, but we don't look as far as how people were treated for not believing in Christianity. We normally don't look back at those times and say, "Hey, we were right on the money back then."
The entire idea of liberalism, for example, and so the liberal movement and Christian history in Europe, the developments over time, where people came to the conclusion that you should probably establish states that no longer impose a certain religious branch on others, or that separate between religion and government. The idea was generally, look guys, we have for the longest time we have had a state religion, and the state generally discriminated positively or negatively based on religion or religious creed, where Catholicism was enforced, Protestantism was enforced, Orthodoxy was enforced, whatever, and it only led to collapse, to destruction, to infighting, to revolutions. Maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe it is time to be, impartial by creed, impartial by religion, to leave that aside, to let people worship whatever they want, and to then and to have government separately. It seems like this will be more stable, and it did actually result in more stable states and societies. So it actually worked in Europe. People are generally very much opposed to the idea of having state religion or of having religion in government because of hundreds of years, especially starting around the time of the Protestant Reformation, hundreds of years of infighting, of killing each other, of creedal oppression and all that. It just in practice doesn't really work as well as you may think.
And the reason people are going to be pushing in that direction, and of course people pushing against that inclination, is because of the same thing we're talking about with what's going on in the UK right now. People
Yeah.
feel like they're being ignored by their government. People don't like the direction society is heading in. And so even if you look back and say, I don't like the way that Christian nation did things 5 centuries ago. For some people, it's, I'll take that over the direction we're heading now. And so it's a situation where, people are going to be making some difficult decisions about what they do in response to a world that they are really not liking right now.
Wait. We have actually Ihtisham is actually in the chat. I didn't know it was him, but it's actually him answering Christians. It's actually in the chat and just said a puss is a secret Christian. Well.
Oh, he called you a name. Why would he do that? He knows the rules.
Ihtisham, don't you know the rules, man?
He knows the
Don't you know
rules. He knows the
You can't
rules.
call people names. You can't call people.
Calling someone a name here.
Look, here's the Quran. Here's the Quran. I wasn't going to do this.
He
We
wasn't
were
gonna do it.
We were almost done with the live stream.
We
Almost
were
done with the live stream.
Yeah, we had like 2 more super chats and then we were gone. And then you had to insist that AP desecrate the Quran. Wow.
And I had to check if it's actually you because I thought it was just some random troll or something. But it's actually you. I don't know why you're doing this, but here, this is a response. The Quran says you shouldn't insult others or whatever they consider holy, lest they insult you, your God, Allah. So here, this is for you.
Yep.
Answering Christians.
You broke the rule. You broke the rule of your own God. This is because of you, Etishem. You're responsible. You're responsible for this by calling names when you know what the response will be. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Shocking. It's like people come to the chat and they're like, hey, we really love the Quran. How can we get AP to desecrate one?
Yeah.
Mumu Joe says, weak. They're talking over the world via immigration. Western world pay them to do so. Ignore their violence and hate. They are winning. The question wasn't. The question was weak. You're saying weak. They're being brought into Western nations because Western nations are going, look at how bad things are for these people. They're not looking at them going, wow, they're so strong and powerful. Let's bring them in. It's, wow, these guys are so backwards in the way things are in their countries that we need to do everything we can to help them. And anyone who has a problem with it must just hate brown people or something like that. They're doing it because of how bad and weak things are. I can't believe that Etisham asked you to do that. Shame. AP, David, will you do a Christian versus agnostic debate? I would, but...
Well, it would be kind of futile because it would result in the complete destruction of David Wood.
Yeah,
as we know him.
and think about an agnostic. I'd be sitting there and here are my 17 proofs, and an agnostic would be going, I don't know. What do I know? I don't know. I don't know. Well, could be, maybe, possibly, yeah, might be. Don't know. I don't know. I know nothing. Mosh Cohen says, I think the Hinkle and Fuentes type of Muppets are the reason people think Christian nationalism is bad, while most laws are, in fact, coming from... Yeah, that's why I said there's a difference between a nation that is massively influenced by Christianity and Judaism and so on, and a country that is like officially... And keep in mind, you do have, as AP pointed out, you have nations that are considered Christian nations and so on. I'm talking about, when we're talking about Christian nationalism, yeah, the Fuentes type, that's like white Christian nationalism. Everyone else has to get out. So that's actually a racial and / Christian nationalism and so on. Yeah, that would be a serious problem. But even, any sort of, the worst penalty in the New Testament that the church could dole out was excommunication. Now think about, what is that? That's, guys, here's the church. If you don't want to follow the church, there's the door. And you had governments that are supposed to punish people who are doing wrong, but they're, it's punishing people for like murder and stuff like that, right? It's things that any government should be doing. the idea that the entire state becomes the church and hands out like is punishing people for not adhering to Christianity and so on. Think about this. What kind of Christians you have in situations like that? You end up with a bunch of Christians who are Christians because they're required to be, or they'll be punished, not people who actually want to follow Jesus. So it's just a weird, someone could do it. It's just a weird situation. So in other words, if you go to the Muslim sources and you read the Muslim sources, you get the idea that there is supposed to be an Islamic state. If you read the Bible from beginning to end, do you get the idea Christians are supposed to make a state that they are supposed to be, where they're imposing Christian belief on other people and making them agree? I don't see where you'd get that idea from. And therefore, it's like someone could do it, doesn't mean that I would think it's a good Christian idea.
I would totally be okay with living in a Christian
Everyone
state.
would be. Everyone loves Christian states. In fact, the next video I'm on is talking about cultural Christians. People saying we prefer Christian societies. Elon Musk has said it. He said it recently. I've talked about Dawkins saying it, but I can expand upon that with Elon a little bit. Hi, D-Wood AP. What's going on in the subreddit ex-Muslim? It's like a cult of apostate. Aladdin over there, is it? Are you still the supreme leader of ex-Muslims? That is a good question. Is he starting a coup over there on Reddit?
People are up in rebellion, as far as I understand. Well, the thing is, Reddit is a very, very dumb place. Honestly, if I was a teenager, with the personality that I had when I was a teenager, I would probably use Reddit. But then, once you get a little bit older, you would probably stop using it regularly. And it's a place where it's mostly very left-leaning people who form echo chambers and who think the whole world thinks like them, and all those who don't are crazy or something like that. So that's basically what Reddit is. In such an environment, it's not surprising that you will find a lot of people who think like Aladdin. Yeah, I don't know. I know that there are lots of discussions on the ex-Muslim subreddit about me and about other ex-Muslims who are like me, like Harris Sultan, even lately Nuria Khan, because she became very openly, in support of the patriotic right. I just don't really pay much attention to that kind of stuff. I see that there are lots of these ex-Muslim kinds who were born in the West, raised in the West, who have never been to the Muslim world ever, or who go to the Muslim world every other year on vacation and only stay there for like a week or so, and then they have very strong opinions on how people should conduct themselves when they talk about Islam. I look at those people and think, go away, live your life. You don't know what it is like to be a Muslim. You don't know what it is like in the Muslim world. There is a reason why ex-Muslims from the Muslim world are generally much more like me than like those subreddit nerds. Yeah.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Reddit is unstoppable.
Yes.
Hey, you mentioned that your boy Aladdin was talking trash.
Aladdin?
Might need to do a live stream. Put him in his place once more. He's getting a little too big for his britches over on Reddit, apparently. I did not know that was a thing over on Reddit, so that's interesting to know.
Oh, I don't care.
No,
the guys,
no, of course not. So, some people want attention, and you have to. Some people you want to feed them attention because it makes them more narcissistic. Other people you don't want to give them the attention. Watch them lose their minds. Depends on the person.
He's a dumb kid, and he's also the thing is, at first I only responded to him because I wasn't because I didn't actually have anything against him. I thought he's just being a little B word. So I want to have a look at it. But then I found out that he's behind the scenes actually a very terrible person who was doing some really, really bad things with the community that he has established. So I don't know. At some point he might force me to call him out on that publicly. But I haven't even watched his latest video. He's just whining again. And Yeah, he's dumb. He's stupid.
Yeah, all I all I recall is whatever clip we looked at some point when he was first blasting you, and my takeaway is just some people want the attention and they get really jealous if they don't get the attention they crave. And you see that a lot in the Dawa community, right? Like these guys are leaping over each other for attention and so on. And I guess some of them leave Islam and don't lose that.
And the thing is, it's so dumb because for years I have done, I could be here and I could say, well, look at me, I have the biggest channel, the biggest English speaking ex-Muslim channel. I'm the boss, I'm the top ex-Muslim, yeah, I am the OG, nobody can come close to me. Who are all these other ex-Muslims? They're all stupid and boring and ridiculous. I could act like this. I have done the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
For years I have done the opposite. I have not bragged about it. I have always shouted out and supported other ex-Muslims, even when I thought, personally, I thought, okay, pathetic approach, but I don't care. There are different approaches to things. So I want to support every ex-Muslim, even if they look like completely pathetic weasels. So with that mindset, like I always thought, for example, Aladdin was a completely pathetic weasel, but I still had him featured on my channel because I thought I want to support other ex-Muslims. What has he done over the years? Over the years, he has again and again and again complained that people are watching me and not him. Again and again tried to attack me and all that. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, it's just an ego problem.
Yeah. Some people look around at the world and think they're supposed to be the center of attention and they're not getting it. And so they think everyone else must be the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if AP gets attention, it must be because he's bad and deceiving people, and therefore I need to expose him, and not just, hey, maybe you're a dude, apostate Aladdin, maybe you're just a whiny little crybaby, and people don't like that.
Yeah. Maybe just
they like it on Reddit, but
not in the real world.
Not in the real world. They like super alpha males like us. Perfect Grace here says, Mopus. Why would someone call Muhammad Mopus? Look, let's not start with the insult. Oh, wait. Etisham did. Yeah, Mopus. Mopus. Can't believe that everyone wants to recall Muhammad Mopus. Look, just because we can call Muhammad a child molesting, murdering rapist doesn't mean we should. But when other people start it, then we have to say the truth about Muhammad. AP Anna Slats pretends to be a Turk. Do you believe her? Don't know who that is. You know who that is?
I've never heard of this person.
You would have no idea whether she is or in fact a Turk.
Anna Slats is a Canadian journalist. Who cares about Canadians, man?
Yeah. You got your answer right there. She's Canadian, not Turk.
Yeah.
All right, we got that. And Lloyd says, answering Christians, that's Etisham, has left the chat. Great job, Etisham. You led to yet another Quran desecration. Brilliant job. Hey, you know what's funny? I was just about to click off, but I looked at the comments on that video. So this is the Towards Eternity video, ladies and gentlemen. These are the comments on the Towards Eternity video. So it's right there at the top. These comments. Look at this comment. Hijab is a master of mental gymnastics. This is just top comments. Hijab is a master of mental gymnastics. I wonder why he's not living in an Islamic country. What did Muhammad say when Aisha said she has never seen a suffering woman as Muslim women? That's 10 days ago. Clearly a prearranged interview. Yeah, they're not hitting him with difficult questions. They're saying, Muhammad, hijab, send us the questions you want us to ask you. Next one. Islam dies without lies. And here we have, I'm not a sister from Yemen. I'm a brother from Pakistan, and I love Brother Muhammad Hijab. So you have to go down like 5 comments to get something that's positive. Nothing more than Muhammad trying to speak intelligently to justify or make excuses for Islam. This is interesting stuff. It's interesting if like people are, it's interesting that people are like I mean, normally the comment section of the Muslim videos is a total echo chamber, like Reddit. And here it's people exposing the stuff. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Huh. All right. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Keep up the good work, everyone. All right, AP. Been a good show. A good show.
No.
Anything you want to say before
It's
we close out?
always an honor to be here. Always proud to be out here doing the work. And you see, of course, we have the best channels. We have the greatest audience. There's a reason why people watch us and not other smaller weaklings.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Stay away from Islam, though.
And here's this clip from AP bragging about his channel. What is this? You see his attitude? Funny stuff. All right, everyone. As far as I know now, AP and I wouldn't mind going through some of the actual footage of the escalating tensions in the UK. We might have to do that. I think I'm live twice tomorrow. I think I'm going live with Hatun in the afternoon, like 3 or something, and then with Inspiring Philosophy on his channel, responding to apparently some people who didn't understand some jokes that we were telling. And so he actually wants to go through and explain what the actual jokes were to people who didn't get them. It's weird that we have to keep doing this. And then on Tuesday, I will be on with Raymond Ibrahim. You familiar with that guy?
Who?
Raymond Ibrahim, man. Egyptian dude.
Sounds like
That's one of the OGs. That's one of the OGs. Back in the day, it was Robert Spencer, Raymond Ibrahim, Pamela Geller, and like a couple of others. There were not a lot
Does
of
he also
people.
have a real name?
That's his name, man. He's an Egyptian guy. He used to be a bodybuilder. He used to be like massive. And Pamela C here says, for you and families, thank you all for God is doing through both of you. Thank you, Pamela C. And for everyone else, we'll be seeing you soon in a variety of ways on a variety of channels. And it will be super dope.
Super beast.
Stay sane, everyone. Stay sane in a crazy world.
Don't.